Chapter 12-13. This lesson was very long, from death to the state of heart, and back to cultivation. The sky-connecting realm brought them through the astral river. Even if they closed their eyes to comprehend, they could still sense the incomparably majestic and tyrannical laws in the outside world. They felt like they were roaming through the starry space, like a dream. It was unknown how much time passed. 50 years in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, a total of 50 years. When the figures opened their eyes, they no longer saw the starry space, only the immortal sea. They sat on a boat formed from immortal energy, floating on the immortal sea. A formless wind blew, bringing them to the shore of the immortal sea. Over there was the path they came from. Qin Wentian seemed to have sensed something. He opened his eyes and glanced at his surroundings with a smile on his face. Qing'er and Qingcheng were both beside him. This dream is truly long, it feels like many years have passed. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Qingcheng's cultivation base was already at the 3rd level of Immortal Foundation while he and Qing'er were already at the 7th level. In addition, his Immortal Foundation was brimming with immortal energy. That immortal foundation of his was even more crystalline than before, shining with a perfect luster. The immortal energy flowing through it was many times stronger compared to before. This time around, it wasn't as simple as an increase in cultivation base. Staring ahead, the waves of the immortal sea slammed into the shore, emitting rumbling sounds. Numerous figures stood up and stared ahead, feeling great waves in their hearts. The 50 years in the Tiandao Sacred Academy was like a dream. During these 50 years, their improvements were extremely great. This was especially so for those whose cultivation bases were lower when they entered the Sacred Academy. Their improvements were the most obvious. On the contrary, for those with higher cultivation bases, it was extremely difficult for them to take that final step. For example, for 9th level Immortal Foundation experts, if they wanted to advance, they could only comprehend the might of an immortal king. But many failed to do so. This step was simply too difficult to take. However, in the last lecture given by the Sacred Academy, there were many 9th level Immortal Foundation experts who took that final step. It was like the life and death battle in the sky-connecting realm, as well as the journey in the starry space, were all prepared for this, allowing some people to get closer to the immortal king realm. The people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, the White Tiger people, and the other cultivators were unusually quiet at this moment. They didn't fight with each other. They walked forward indifferently towards the celestial shore. There was the exit that they came from. In the outside world, in 9 Tripod City, the surroundings of the entrance to the Sacred Academy were no longer as majestic as they were in the past. After all, at that time, the Sacred Academy was recruiting students and experts from all over the immortal realms came. But as time flowed by, regardless of whether it was the spectators or the experts from the various powers, they all left. However, there were still experts stationed here to guard the entrance, preparing to welcome the people who exited the Sacred Academy. To those at the Immortal King realm and above, even 100 years was considered a very short period of time. They would just treat it as tempering themselves in the 9 Tripod City. But even so, at the entrance of the Sacred Academy, there would still be experts coming over to check if there were any new movements. And at this moment, at the entrance of the Sacred Academy, a bright light fluctuated as a figure stepped out. This figure was incomparably lofty and had golden eyes. It was none other than Jia Nantian, exuding an incomparable aura. At the instant he appeared, numerous gazes turned over as their hearts trembled. Someone walked out from the Sacred Academy. Waves of fluctuations rang out as numerous figures walked out from the Sacred Academy. At this moment, everyone turned their gazes in this direction. From afar, there were experts who sensed the commotion here and all of them rushed over here as well. Bzz. Abruptly, an intense gust of wind swept through the air. After that, a terrifying great rock appeared in the air. He stared at Jia Nantian and the others as he smiled. Nantian, you guys have finally come out. The surrounding space trembled violently, forming a terrifying hurricane. Numerous figures directly appeared here, staring at the young geniuses who walked out from the Sacred Academy. These people were all the elders of these geniuses and were active in the 9-tripod city. Their immortal senses were constantly scanning the area and they would rush over to welcome them the moment they discovered something. "Ha, children, you guys have finally come out." An explosive voice rang out in the air. An expert exuding a terrifying aura appeared. In the center of his brows, there was an imprint of a king. This was none other than a fearsome tiger king. On the other side, a human emperor figure appeared in the air, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. He had a crown on his head and exuded an aura of absolute domination. This was none other than a supreme existence of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Shatian, invincible. This expert stared at Huang Shatian and Huang Wudi as a smile appeared on his face. He then continued to stare at the figures who walked out. In another direction, Nanfeng Guhong quietly stood there, smiling as she stared at the figures who walked out. The experts of the various powers have all arrived. When Qin Wentian and the others walked out, they glanced at the surroundings. Emperor Qianbian appeared there, smiling at Qin Wentian and the others. The immortal Qianbian Gate was a newly risen power. In truth, only a few of those who entered the Sacred Academy were from the immortal Qianbian Gate. The vast majority of them were sent by the Heavenly Talisman realm to cultivate in the immortal Qianbian Gate. Right now, Bai Wuya and the other immortal kings had also entered the Sacred Academy and entered a different dimension. Hence, the person who came from the immortal Qianbian Gate was none other than the Emperor Qianbian himself. There are so many terrifying major characters. The experts from the 9-tripod city all felt their hearts trembling when they saw the scene in the air. There were close to 20,000 geniuses from all over the immortal realms. There were simply too many major powers standing behind them. These major powers all sent their people over. Emperor Lord. Qin Wentian and the others sped towards the Emperor Qianbian. Not bad. The Emperor Qianbian smiled and nodded. Qin Wentian actually broke through to the 7th level of Immortal Foundation. Such improvement in a short 50 years was truly terrifying. Where are Yudi and Dengtian? At this moment, the major characters from the 9 Emperors' immortal state couldn't find Huang Yudi's silhouette. He had always liked to follow behind Huang Shatian. But even after so many experts walked out, there was still no sign of Huang Yudi. Roar! A low-sounding bestial roar rang out as a fearsome pressure instantly permeated the air. Over at the side of the White Tiger people, Bai Mao and the others told the major characters that those white tigers who didn't manage to walk out were all killed by the human Wuxiu. Similarly, over at the side of the Namhuang clan, the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan took out the nirvanic blood of several holy maidens and passed it to Nanfeng Guhong. Nanfeng Guhong's eyes turned exceptionally cold as a stifling heat permeated the air, enveloping the entire space. Following that, the experts of the various powers all unleashed their terrifying auras. In an instant, everyone felt that something was wrong. If the experts of the various powers were to fight here, and if they didn't restrain themselves, the entire 9-tripod city would be destroyed, and the people would be plunged into misery and suffering. A towering baleful aura gushed forth, gushing towards the experts of the Namhuang clan. Nanfeng Guhong took a step forward, enveloping all the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan. Her cold eyes stared at the white tiger as she coldly spoke, "A bunch of vile beasts. How dare you?" White Tiger roared in a deep voice. His roar resounded through the world, causing everyone's eardrums to tremble. That human emperor from the 9 emperors' immortal state turned his gaze in the direction of Qing'er and Qin Wentian as he coldly spoke, "Daughter of the evergreen immortal state, are you the one who killed Yudi?" "He deserved to die," Qing'er icily replied. The eyes of that human emperor flashed with a terrifying might. "Deserved to die? Do you know who you are talking to?" That human emperor's aura gushed forth, enveloping Qing'er. The Sacred Academy has always been a tempering ground for the juniors. This is a battle between juniors. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the juniors by interfering like this? A voice drifted over from the void. Instantly, the experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state all felt a terrifying pressure descending from the heavens, enveloping everyone, including that human emperor. That human emperor inclined his head, but he had no way to sense his exact location. He naturally deserved to die. Another voice rang out. Another powerful female appeared. The people of Matriarch Ji's sect all flew over as they respectfully greeted, second senior sister. This female who appeared was none other than the strongest disciple under GD. She was an immortal emperor-ranked disciple and was a famous character in the eastern regions. At the exit of the Sacred Academy, the entire space was in chaos. Who here didn't have a background? If a battle really erupted here, the juniors of both sides would surely die. If immortal emperors wanted to kill an immortal Foundation character, they only needed to move their fingers. Nobody could stop the other side from killing their juniors. Everyone fell silent. A battle between peak powers of the immortal realms was something that all experts had to be wary of, even for immortal emperors. If it's just a life and death battle, it doesn't matter. However, there's someone who dared to feast on the flesh of our white tiger people after their deaths. How can we not kill such a character? It's none other than that Qin Wentian. He gave the order, we have to kill him no matter what. Bai Mao pointed in the direction of Qin Wentian. The person the white tiger people hated the most was undoubtedly Qin Wentian. Today, with so many experts here, it was impossible to deal with all of them. In that case, they could only choose a single target, Qin Wentian. That's right, this man is despicable and shameless. He was the one who acted first. If it wasn't for him, so many geniuses wouldn't have died. We have to kill him no matter what. An expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom pointed at Qin Wentian. Gu Shao of my Supreme Sword School died precisely because of him. Someone from the Supreme Sword School lied. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness. The hatred these people had for him was truly deep. All of them wanted to kill him and claim his life. Entering the Tiandao Sacred Academy together with people like you is the greatest humiliation to me, Qin Wentian. You guys have brought shame to the two words geniuses. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. You failed to kill my senior brother and were killed instead. Now, you guys are slandering my senior brother for being despicable. Isn't this a fair battle? Jun Mengchen roared. Back then when Huang Shatian was at the 9th level of Immortal Foundation, he fought to a draw with my senior brother. Do you really need to surround and kill those trash who died? The White Tiger people have always wanted to humiliate our sisters from the Namhuang clan. Their words are simply. If our sisters landed in their hands, I wonder what these bastards would do. This is why all of our sisters spared no expense to absorb nirvanic blood so that they wouldn't fall into their hands. These vile creatures deserve to die. The holy maiden of the Namhuang clan spoke to Nanfeng Guhong. Chapter 12-14. Nanfeng Guhong's eyes were cold as she stared at the White Tiger people. In a radius of a few thousand miles, the temperature seemed to have risen. Second senior sister, junior sister Yunshang was killed by Huang Yudi of the 9 Emperor's immortal state. A disciple of GD coldly spoke. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian acting, most probably only a few from our Namhuang clan would be able to leave the Tiandao Sacred Academy alive. It's the same for us as well. Mo Zian spoke. Back then in that battle, if Qin Wentian didn't block Huang Shatian, who would be able to survive? Numerous voices rang out. Everyone could already imagine the cruelty of the battle in the Sacred Academy. The holy maiden of the Namhuang clan, the disciples of GD, all of them were almost buried there. The princes of the 9 Emperor's immortal state were killed, the greater demons of the White Tiger people were roasted alive. This battle must have been extremely shocking. There were also many geniuses from the myriad Devil Islands who entered the Sacred Academy. Hence, there were many powerful devil cultivators here. At this moment, a terrifying devil emperor stared at everyone and laughed. Do you people of the immortal realms really like to talk nonsense? Since there's a life and death grudge, just directly start a war and kill the other party. What's the point of a war of words? Those who were killed were all the most outstanding geniuses among your juniors. This fellow. The expressions of everyone froze. The devil cultivators of the myriad devil islands probably wanted nothing more than to cause chaos in the immortal realms. However, starting a war was easier said than done. Once the matter implicated the peak powers of the immortal realms, even the violent white tiger people wouldn't dare to start an immortal war of this level. None of the major powers would dare to say that they would be able to endure the consequences. The demon emperors of the white tiger people didn't dare to act recklessly. Since Nanfeng Guhong was enraged, she wouldn't act recklessly as well. I heard that the immortal Qianbian Gate of the eastern regions is a power that was established less than 100 years ago. Right now, they are still fighting against the Dongshengshan Gate. At the same time, the Evergreen Kingdom is facing the adjudication from the various eastern regions. The human emperor of the 9 emperors' immortal state suddenly spoke. His gaze landed on the Emperor Qianbian. I suggest that the immortal Qianbian Gate hand him over to us. After all, external powers don't belong to you. What power could the immortal Qianbian Gate be? A power that was established less than 100 years ago. Even if they had an immortal emperor, they still dared to stand against the 9 emperors' immortal empire, protecting the people they wanted. The Evergreen Kingdom had experienced internal turmoil and was heavily injured. Their strength was limited as well. What qualifications did they have to challenge the 9 emperors' immortal state? The Namhuang clan had been rooted in the southern regions for countless years. Their roots were extremely deep and they were extremely powerful. But that was a power that belonged to the Namhuang clan. Could it be that if they wanted to touch the immortal Qianbian Gate, the Namhuang clan would start a war against the 9 emperors' immortal state? This sounded like a joke. The immortal Qianbian Gate? I've never heard of this power before. The demon emperor of the white tiger people had a strange look in his eyes as he stared in the direction of the Emperor Qianbian. The actions of the 9 emperors' immortal state and the white tiger people are truly disappointing. The Emperor Qianbian coldly replied. Seems like you guys have made your choice. You would rather protect an immortal foundation character. In that case, we shall part ways here today. We shall meet again in the future. As the sound of his voice faded, a bright light radiated from him, enveloping the geniuses of the 9 emperors' immortal state. After that, his silhouette flashed as he directly departed. It was impossible for them to start a war here today. They would discuss what to do after they returned to the immortal empire. Let's go. The demon emperor of the white tiger people let out a low roar. After that, he led his experts away. Eastern regions, see you again. The experts of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom and the Supreme Sword School stared in the direction of Qin Wendian and Qing'er. Evidently, this matter was far from over. The verdict of the immortal realms had yet to be decided. Up till now, the Changqing the Great had yet to hand over the person. Since the immortal realms adjudication was initiated, they naturally had to come up with a conclusion. Let's return as well. Emperor Qianbian spoke to Qin Wendian and the others. Qin Wendian nodded. He turned to Qing'er, what about you? I will follow senior sister back to master's place. This way, we can use the formation to return home anytime we want. Qing'er spoke in a light voice. The commotion this time was caused by her. Her senior sister lost her life because of this. She naturally had to return to her sect and report this to her master. If her master wanted to punish her, she could accept it. Okay. Qin Wendian smiled and nodded. GD was a peak-stage immortal emperor in the immortal realms. If Qing'er returned to her sect, Qin Wendian would naturally be at ease. Take good care of yourself. Qin Wendian instructed. Qing'er replied in a melodious voice. Take good care of Qingcheng. After that, she nodded lightly to Qingcheng before flying towards the direction of GD's followers. Wendian. Namhuang Yunxi glanced in Qin Wendian's direction. She spoke with worry, the white tiger people are from the demonic race. Their actions are extremely tyrannical and don't abide by the rules. You have to be careful. That's right. They most probably won't let this matter rest so easily. This grudge has already been formed between us. The holy maiden of the Namhuang clan had a cold look on her face. After she returned, she would definitely cultivate well. Emichim, holy maidens, take care. Qin Wentian clasped his hands to the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan. After that, both parties bid their farewells. Brother Qin, if you have meat to eat in the future, remember to share it with us. In another direction, Bujia and his two companions were surrounded by several senior monks. Qin Wentian stared at Bujia's shameless expression and laughed. Between brothers, we naturally have to share our joys and sorrows. If there's meat, let's meet again. Okay, Brother Qin, remember what you said. Bujia's eyes shone brightly. White tiger meat, he hadn't had enough of it. Naturally. Qin Wentian then clasped his hands towards Buyu and Buchan. Many thanks to the two reverends for taking care of me in the Sacred Academy. In the future, if there's any need, I, Qin, will definitely heed your summons. Amit Ba. Buyu pressed his palms together and thanked Qin Wentian. Buchan nodded his head. Buddhist light shone and the senior monks from Winxin Temple left. Experts from all directions left one after another. There were people from Zidi, Dongshengshan Gate, Lightning God Hall, Snowdrift Sage Hall, and Chu Qingyi. Before they left, they didn't forget to look at that figure. The people from the immortal Qianbian Gate soared into the air and left. In the direction of the Jiang clan, Jiang Ziyu had a smile on his face. This Qin Wentian really didn't disappoint him. His growth speed was terrifying. The experts of the myriad Devil Islands and the priestess of the Judiciary Devil Hall turned her gaze towards the direction where the immortal Qianbian Gate left. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of reluctance. Let's go, a demon emperor with a terrifying aura said, and they all left one after another. A storm arose and dissipated. But this was also within expectations. With so many immortal emperors around, it was impossible for such a huge battle to erupt. The implications were too great, and if they didn't control it well, it might cause a huge commotion. As for those immortal kings who haven't come out yet, they naturally didn't need reinforcements. They were already powerful existences, and after they left the Sacred Academy, they would surely grow even stronger. In the immortal Qianbian Gate, Qin Wentian stared at the familiar palaces as a smile flashed in his eyes. He would be able to reunite with his old friends again. Although a storm might erupt at any moment, at the very least, he would be able to enjoy some peace and quiet. The path of cultivation was arduous and time was incomparably precious. However, cultivating in the Sacred Academy for 50 years had caused his state of mind to be extremely tense. He also needed some time to relax. Emperor Lord, I will return to take a look first. Qin Wentian clasped his hands as he spoke. Okay, you should rest well for a period of time. If there's any news outside, I will naturally inform you. The Emperor of Qianbian spoke. Many thanks, Emperor Lord. Qin Wentian brought Mo Qingcheng and the others back to their palaces. Time flowed by. It has already been 50 years since they started cultivating in the Sacred Academy. He didn't know if everyone was doing well or not. Just when Qin Wentian was about to pay his respects to his foster father and the others, he saw that there were already people coming over, knowing that he and Qingcheng had returned. Master. A smile appeared on Mo Qingcheng's face when she saw the medicine sovereign. Senior medicine sovereign. Qin Wentian bowed. I was still worried that Qingcheng would encounter some trouble on her way to look for you. Seeing that she has returned safely, I can finally set my heart at ease. The medicine sovereign smiled. Wentian, the time you spent outside this time was really long. Yi Qingyun's silhouette appeared. During this period of time, Yi Qingyun had been in closed-door seclusion, trying to break through to Immortal Foundation. Foster father, Sis Lingshuang. Qin Wentian was naturally happy in his heart when he saw his foster father and Yi Lingshuang. Ha! A carefree laughter rang out. His father Qin Chuan, Sis Qin Yao and the others also came over. His teacher Mustang and senior sister Luo Huan were also there. You seem to have become more handsome. Luo Huan walked to the side of Qin Wentian, her body almost sticking to Qin Wentian. Her fingers hooked onto Qin Wentian's chin, causing Qin Wentian to not know whether to laugh or cry. Senior sister, please spare me. Tell me, what is your current cultivation base? A strange light flashed in Luo Huan's eyes. In the Immortal Foundation realm, I should be considered one of the more powerful ones. Qin Wentian joked. When he was together with his family, he was completely different from the outside world. He was very relaxed. More powerful? Luo Huan mumbled. Several figures from the Battle Sword sect flew over, causing Qin Wentian to be taken aback. The people of the Battle Sword sect didn't want to rely on him too much, hence many of them were out tempering themselves. Duan Han, Ji Feishua, Lu Bingyu, and the others all appeared in the crowd. In addition, their cultivation bases were already very high, incomparable to the past. It was just that they were all stuck at the Celestial Phenomenon realm, unable to step into the Immortal Foundation realm. Qin Wentian was prepared to baptize everyone this time around. Wentian, you came back at the right time. Senior brother Lin Shuai is about to get married. Duan Han walked over and smiled at Qin Wentian. Senior brother Lin Shuai is about to get married? A look of joy flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. Many years ago when he first stepped into the royal sacred region, it was senior brother Lin Shuai who brought him to the Battle Sword sect and took care of him. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, so many years had passed? Senior brother Lin Shuai had also found the person he loved. He naturally felt happy for his senior brother. Which maiden is so lucky to be able to marry someone as outstanding as senior brother Lin Shuai? Qin Wentian smiled. Senior brother Lin Shuai got acquainted with her when he was tempering himself outside. She lives in the Cloud Prefecture and is a very good maiden. Yiling Shuang was also very happy. Senior brother Lin Shuai was like an elder brother to her. Where is senior brother? Qin Wentian asked. Why isn't he around? He's at the maiden's place, he's busy preparing for the wedding. The Cloud Prefecture is so vast, it's not easy for him to make a trip back. We came back to make preparations but we didn't expect to meet you here. Everyone laughed. Qin Wentian scratched his head. That's right, how vast was the Cloud Prefecture? Even for Immortal Foundation experts, it was considered extremely vast. There were many people who wouldn't even be able to walk out of the city even if they spent their entire lives. It was just that Qin Wentian was used to seeing experts and had traveled to many places in the immortal realms. Hence, he didn't realize how significant the Cloud Prefecture was to Wu Xiao who was below the Immortal Foundation realm. Chapter 12-15. In the Namhuang clan, Nanfeng Guhong brought the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan back to this ancient clan that had existed for countless years. Within a majestic ancient hall, many experts were gathered there. These were the elders of the holy maidens, as well as some elders of the Southern Phoenix clan. At this moment, a beam of phoenix light could be seen floating above the ancient hall, forming the shadow of a few phoenixes. However, within the shadow, there were a few drops of nirvanic blood. Other than this, the holy maiden of the Namhuang clan whose cultivation base was crippled was also present. This time around, the Namhuang clan's losses were extremely great. This time around, everything started because of Yunxi. Because of Qin Wentian, the situation worsened, leading to this war. Regardless of the 9 emperors' immortal state or the White Tiger people, both sides suffered losses. But this was merely a battle between the juniors of the Sacred Academy. Do you all have any objections? Nanfeng Guhong asked. She was an immortal emperor expert and was also the Tao protector of the Southern Phoenix matriarch. Her status in the Namhuang clan was extremely high. If it was a battle, it's fine. But the White Tiger people are too evil. You can only blame yourselves for not having a high enough cultivation base. If not, you can roast all the White Tiger people in the Sacred Academy and eat them. That can be considered as revenge. An elder coldly spoke, causing the experts of the Namhuang clan to lower their heads. That's right. After all, this was a battle between juniors of the Sacred Academy. We suffered losses but they also ate the meat of the White Tigers. Both sides have no reason to start a war and will only stop here. Another person spoke. It wasn't good for the Namhuang clan to do anything to the Namhuang clan, but they also believed that the White Tiger people wouldn't dare to do anything to the Namhuang clan. The person who spoke earlier nodded lightly. In the future, when you all roam the immortal realms, just kill a few more white tigers. There's no need to be polite. It's just a pity for these lasses. I wonder if they can recover from their injuries. Elders, Yunshi has a matter to report. Nanfeng Yunshi bowed slightly as she spoke to everyone. Yunshi, speak. Nanfeng Guhong glanced at her. I got acquainted with Qin Wentian in the City of Ancient Emperors. Back then, during the tempering exercise in the City of Ancient Emperors, Qin Wentian obtained a secret art to cultivate his immortal foundation. Wait. Before Namhuang Yunshi could finish speaking, Nanfeng Guhong interrupted her. She turned her gaze onto everyone as a heavy look could be seen in her eyes. Everyone here is the most direct descendant of my Namhuang clan. What Yunshi has said, no one is allowed to leak out. Yes. Everyone nodded. They could also faintly sense the meaning behind Namhuang Yunshi's words. Immortal Foundation. No wonder Qin Wentian, Jun Mengchen, Namhuang Yunshi and the rest all had perfect immortal foundations. In truth, many people had their own guesses. Now that Namhuang Yunshi took the initiative to speak, they naturally understood. This secret art was obtained by Qin Wentian. Although Yunshi has cultivated it, without Qin Wentian's permission, it's not appropriate for Yunshi to impart it to the rest of the clan. Namhuang Yunshi continued. Many people frowned, feeling somewhat unhappy. Such a precious secret art, since Namhuang Yunshi obtained it, she should be the first to hand it over. This was simply too unreasonable. This time around in the Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian fought side by side with my Namhuang clan. He told Yunshi that I can hand over the secret art. Namhuang Yunshi spoke. Yunshi, well done. The experts here all had smiles on their faces. With such a secret art, in the future, the younger generations of the Namhuang clan would surely grow stronger. In the future, there would be a golden age. They were all extremely powerful cultivators. They naturally understood how precious this secret art was. It's just that Yunshi has a request. Namhuang Yunshi bowed. What's the matter? This secret art was obtained by Qin Wentian. Back then, because I fought side by side with him, he unconditionally allowed me to cultivate it. Yunshi has already been indebted to him. After that, Qin Wentian assisted Yunshi in seizing the position of the holy successor, allowing her to meet with the phoenix ancestor, establishing a perfect immortal foundation. If not, Yunshi wouldn't have the status she has today. In addition, this secret art can even allow her to establish a saint-grade immortal foundation. Although Qin Wentian didn't make any requests, my Namhuang clan is filled with gratitude. Just like what the elders have said, the 9 emperors' immortal state and the White Tiger people won't declare war against my Namhuang clan. However, they might act against the immortal Qianbian Gate and Qin Wentian. I hope that the Namhuang clan can stand firmly by Qin Wentian's side and protect him. Yunshi. An elder stared at Namhuang Yunshi. You are the holy successor of our Namhuang clan. In the future, you have a chance to inherit the position of the Southern Matriarch. Whatever you do, you have to prioritize the benefits of the Namhuang clan. Relationships between men and women should be placed aside. Yunshi will listen to your teachings. Namhuang Yunshi bowed and nodded. Although she was the holy successor and had a high status, this matter might implicate an emperor-level battle. Clearly, it wasn't beneficial for the Namhuang clan to have a battle of this level for the sake of an immortal foundation junior. Yunshi's words are also for the sake of the Namhuang clan. In the Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian's improvement can be said to be the greatest. He could even fight against a peak-level immortal foundation expert, Huang Shatian. If an ancient emperor is to emerge from the Sacred Academy, wouldn't it be him? If our Namhuang clan had helped an ancient emperor when he was young, maybe in the future, our Namhuang clan would be able to stand tall for all eternity. Qin Wentian is willing to take out such a precious secret art. The Nam Huang clan should be filled with gratitude. However, just like what you said, he has the potential to become an ancient emperor. Do you know that if an ancient emperor wanted to stand at the peak of the immortal realms, how many enemies would he have to face in the future? Our Nam Huang clan should help him, but we have to control our strength. If not, our Nam Huang clan might not be able to wait until he stands at the peak before we are destroyed. Nan Feng Guhong spoke. Everyone nodded. The rise of an ancient emperor was built on the bones of 10,000 people. In the future, it was unknown how many terrifying enemies there would be. In addition, no matter how good one's talent was, the hope of standing at the peak was incomparably minuscule. The immortal realms weren't as peaceful as it appeared on the surface. Nan Feng Guhong didn't mind helping Qin Wentian. She had indeed helped him before. But if it really might affect the fate of the Nam Huang clan, she would immediately let go. Yunxi understands, I will naturally hand over the secret art. It's just that I hope that seniors will remember that this secret art can only be cultivated by those with extremely powerful physiques or they wouldn't be able to endure it. Nam Huang Yunxi nodded. Also, Qin Wentian wants Yunxi to pass a message to all of you. Experts of the immortal realms, I have a deep connection with the Nam Huang clan. I hope that we can maintain our friendship. This time, I'm offering the secret art to all of you, hoping that it would be of use to all of you who are injured. In the future, I, Qin, will give all of you a huge gift. As the sound of his voice faded, the entire place fell silent. Nan Feng Guhong's eyes gleamed with sharpness. After that, a radiant smile appeared on her face as she stared at Nam Huang Yunxi. This friend of yours is getting smarter and smarter. Nam Huang Yunxi was speechless. Back then in the Sacred Academy, she had a conversation with Qin Wentian. In truth, the situation today was something that Qin Wentian had already guessed. She initially thought that the two of them were already allies. But in reality, why would an ancient and powerful peak power form an alliance with an immortal foundation character? Their relationship as allies was simply too unequal. Qin Wentian would definitely hand over the secret art. In truth, a treasure like the immortal slaying platform was sufficient to exchange for the friendship of a supreme power. However, a friendship without benefits would be extremely fragile. There was no need to mention the relationship between Qin Wentian and Nam Huang Yunxi. He had also established a good relationship with the holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan in the Sacred Academy. However, the ones in power were those lofty emperors of the Nam Huang clan. How would they care about the friendship between juniors? During these days, Qin Wentian was busy helping his kin improve their physiques and imparting immortal arts that were suitable for them. He didn't personally experience what happened in the Nam Huang clan's ancient hall, but he could guess some things. Originally, he didn't intend to let Nam Huang Yunxi pass on the last sentence. At that time, he only told Nam Huang Yunxi to pass on the secret art to the Nam Huang clan. Nam Huang Yunxi was very grateful and told him that even if he left the Sacred Academy, the Nam Huang clan would definitely protect him. At that time, he smiled carelessly and chatted with Nam Huang Yunxi about many things, including that even if he left the Sacred Academy, the Nam Huang clan would be fine, but at least the various powers in the Eastern Immortal region would not let him and Qing go. The White Tiger people might also interfere. They had all talked about this before. Nam Huang Yunxi had always firmly believed that if this was the case, the Nam Huang clan would definitely act. This was why Qin Wentian smiled and told her that if the truth was different from what she thought, she should pass on the last sentence. When she said this, Nam Huang Yunxi was still somewhat unhappy. But in the end, Nam Huang Yunxi discovered that Qin Wentian was right. Her view of this world changed again. Maybe, this was growth. At this moment, in the airspace above the Cloud Prefecture, a group of experts soared through the air. Little Rascal transformed into a gigantic rock. His speed was many times faster compared to ordinary immortal weapons. Why is senior brother Lin Shuai's wedding location set at the bride's residence? Qin Wentian sat on Little Rascal's back. Beside him were Mo Qingcheng, Yi Lingshuang, and Qin Yao. All of them were preparing to go over to support their senior brother Lin Shuai. Little Yi is the golden daughter of the Qin clan. The Qin clan naturally can't be compared to the immortal Qianbian Gate, but they can still be considered a prominent clan in the Cloud Prefecture. There are many Immortal Foundation experts in their clan, and it's said that there was even an immortal king among them. But our Battle Sword sect. Senior brother Lin Shuai can't possibly use the tiger's skin and use the immortal Qianbian Gate as his wedding location, right? This isn't your wedding and we can't even be considered disciples of the immortal Qianbian Gate. Hence, senior brother Lin Shuai didn't mention this to the Qin clan. Ling Shuang, there's no need to give face to my Battle Sword sect. Wentian, what she said is right. A power like our Battle Sword sect would really have wronged Lin Shuai. The old ancestor of the Battle Sword sect shook his head. Qin Wentian had a bitter smile on his face. In truth, as long as senior brother Lin Shuai said the word, he would naturally help to handle this matter. But he also understood that senior brother Lin Shuai had his own pride and self-esteem. He couldn't possibly tell the Qin clan that his junior brother was a heaven chosen of the immortal Qianbian Gate. What would that count as? His junior brother was only his junior brother. The immortal Qianbian Gate wasn't his sect, and his parents and elders weren't part of it. Only if they are strong enough would it work. Qin Wentian sighed. He was very carefree in the immortal Qianbian Gate, but in truth, these relatives of his didn't have much of a sense of belonging. And it was precisely because of this reason that even Lin Shuai's wedding was held at the bride's residence. Although senior brother Lin Shuai was magnanimous and wouldn't mind, he was afraid that the people of the Qin clan would look down on him because of this. Chapter 12:16. The Qin clan had resided in the Cloud Prefecture city for generations, and was considered a prominent clan. Although it couldn't be considered a power of the upper echelons, at least as long as they didn't offend a celestial king-tier powerhouse, they wouldn't have to worry about survival. As for immortal king-level characters, they naturally wouldn't dare to antagonize them. The major powers that settled down in the immortal realms were all very cautious, especially in a capital city like the Cloud Prefecture. Today was the wedding day of the Qin clan's daughter, Qin Yi, and it was especially lively. Many guests arrived one after another. These were all the relatives and friends of the Qin clan. They had been rooted in the Cloud State City for many years, and through marriage or apprenticeship, they had a wide network of friends and had long become part of the Cloud State City. Congratulations, little Yi. A magnificent scene could be seen in the sky. Great demons came whistling over. Winged pure white snow lion king, irascible giant eagles, and flying beasts pulled carriages in the sky. They all landed on the ground and congratulated the people who welcomed them. Elder brother, congratulations. A young man walked over with a smile. Hui Yan, don't stand on ceremony. Hurry up and go in with Shui. The young man who came to greet them smiled and shook his head. The people who came were his younger sister and brother-in-law. If his younger sister, Qin Yi, also had someone like Hui Yan, he would feel at ease. After all, the Hua clan was a prestigious clan that was on par with their Qin clan. To ordinary people, if a clan had many Immortal Foundation experts, or even peak-level Immortal Foundation characters, it would already be considered a prestigious clan. After all, Immortal Kings were already considered characters with nobility. They were so lofty that it wasn't easy to come into contact with them. As more and more guests entered, Hui Yan looked at his wife, Qin Shui, and asked, "Today is little Yi's wedding day. Why does elder brother seem so unhappy? Are you asking the obvious?" Qin Shui glared at Hui Yan as she spoke. Father and the elders of the clan didn't agree to this marriage, but they couldn't change little Yi's mind. This lass's talent is extremely good and there's a high chance that she would be able to step into the Immortal Foundation realm in the future. Although the talent of the man she fancied isn't weak, he doesn't have any background. How can he roam the immortal realms freely? Otherwise, they wouldn't have held a wedding banquet in my Qin family. If this Lin Shuai had the same level of power as the Hua clan, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Qin Shui shook her head. A hint of pride flashed in Hui Yan's eyes as he felt a sense of superiority. The figure of an extremely beautiful woman appeared in his mind. It was his wife, Qin Shui's younger sister, Qin Yi. His sister-in-law was younger and more beautiful than his wife. Unfortunately, the man she was going to marry was not good. The Qin manor was bustling with noise and excitement, but the guests were all snickering in their hearts. Their daughter was getting married, yet they were holding a banquet at home. This Qin family was quite interesting. Outside the Qin mansion, Qin Wentian and the rest had already landed on the ground before arriving. After all, this was senior brother Lin Shuai's wedding, and Qin Wentian was still very careful. Naturally, he had to show respect to the Qin clan. If he directly rode on a demonic beast, it would be somewhat disrespectful. Because there were many people coming from the void, no one noticed Qin Wentian and the others. It was not until they walked into the Qin clan that Qin Yi's brother, Qin Ao, saw them and asked with a smile, "You are?" "We are from Lin Shuai's sect and specially came here to congratulate him. I'm his master." Sword Sovereign Ling Tian spoke. Qin Ao stared at Sword Sovereign Ling Tian in front of him. He actually didn't exude any immortal might at all. Lin Shuai's master was only a character at the celestial phenomenon realm. Qin Ao couldn't help but feel greatly disappointed. "Uncle Feng, welcome." Qin Ao walked past Sword Sovereign Ling Tian, abandoning them as he went to welcome another group of people. Sword Sovereign Ling Tian's countenance instantly turned incredibly unsightly, as though he was extremely unhappy. The person getting married today was his disciple, yet the people of the Qin clan actually had such an attitude. The old ancestor of the Battle Sword sect walked over and patted his shoulder. "Today, we are here to congratulate you. Let's enter." Everyone entered. Qin Wentian, Mo Qingcheng and the rest walked at the back of the crowd, inconspicuously inconspicuous. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows as he shook his head lightly. As expected, this was a situation he didn't want to see. However, this was only normal. Naturally, as long as his senior brother Lin Shuai didn't mind, he wouldn't have any thoughts about it. He came here today only to offer his blessings. At the location of the banquet, the Qin clan set up a banquet hall that could accommodate thousands of people. The guests were all chatting and laughing, the atmosphere was extremely lively. During the banquet, there were many people serving delicacies and wine for everyone to enjoy. Qin Wentian and the others gathered in a corner, quietly keeping a low profile. But very swiftly, they caused a huge commotion. This commotion naturally wasn't caused by Qin Wentian or those from the Battle Sword sect. Rather, it was because of the beauty of the maidens. This was especially so for Mo Qingcheng. She was like the most dazzling female lead in the crowd, it was very hard not to notice her. Not to mention, Purgatory, Qin Yao, Luo Huan, Lu Bingyu and the others beside her. Although their beauty was inferior to Mo Qingcheng, they were all extraordinary beauties as well. Who are these people? Hui Yan lifted his wine cup, his gaze directly landing on Mo Qingcheng as he asked Qin Shui who was beside him. I'm not sure. Qin Shui furrowed her brows. At this moment, there was already someone walking towards Qin Wentian and the others. That person smiled and asked, Uncle Chen, are you not going to introduce these guests to us? A middle-aged man who was chatting with some old men turned his gaze over. But at this moment, Lin Shuai's silhouette suddenly appeared. He walked to the front of the crowd and bowed, Old ancestor, master, please forgive this disciple for not being able to welcome you personally. Lin Shuai, today is your wedding day, there's no need to care about us. The old ancestor of the Battle Sword sect straightforwardly spoke. Lin Shuai's wife, Qin Yi, pays her respects to all the elders. The maiden beside Lin Shuai was clad in a luxurious red phoenix feather robe, exuding a sense of nobility and elegance. Right, Lin Shuai, treat Miss Little Yi well. The old ancestor of the Battle Sword sect happily nodded his head. Senior brother, congratulations. The disciples of the Battle Sword sect all smiled as they congratulated Lin Shuai. Qin Wentian pulled Mo Qingcheng over as he smiled, Senior brother Lin, this junior brother is here to drink a cup of wine. You wouldn't mind, right? Junior brother Qin, you've actually returned. Senior brother is naturally happy that you can come together with Qingcheng. Lin Shuai's smile was sincere. Back then, it was him who guided Qin Wentian into the battle sword sect. During the battle against Grand Shang, Qin Wentian had displayed extraordinary talent. But at that time, Lin Shuai would never have imagined that Qin Wentian would have such accomplishments today. Cultivation was like this. The further one progressed, the more obvious the disparity would be. In the past, the 8 era-suppressing geniuses were all compared together. But now, they were no longer on the same level. Chen Yi's beautiful eyes stared in astonishment at Qin Wentian and Mo Qingcheng. These two clearly stood out from the crowd. Although they didn't release their auras, just from their demeanor, one could tell that they were extraordinary. In addition, Purgatory, who stood behind Lin Shuai, exuded a unique sense of beauty. It has been so many years since we parted. Who would have thought that I would return just in time for senior brother's wedding? Even if there's a heavenly matter, I will still cast it aside. Qin Wentian smiled. Senior brother, you have to remember that I will forever be your junior brother. Chen Yi didn't understand why Qin Wentian would say such words. But how could Lin Shuai not understand? Right now, regardless of their strength or status, there was a huge disparity between them. It was naturally impossible for their relationship to be as natural as it was in the past. It was very hard for him to treat Qin Wentian as an ordinary junior brother like Duan Han. Qin Wentian was telling him that there was no need to be estranged from him, just like in the past. Lin Shuai, Little Yi, the two of you go and entertain the guests. We will take care of the food and drinks. The old ancestor of the battle sword sect smiled. Lin Shuai nodded his head lightly. The people of his sect would always be considerate of him. Little Yi. Chen Shui and Hui Yan walked over. Elder sister, brother-in-law, Chen Yi called out. Little Yi, you guys go and do your own things. I will entertain the guests on your behalf. Chen Shui smiled. Okay. Chen Yi nodded lightly. Together with Lin Shuai, they went to greet the guests one by one. Chen Shui stared at her younger sister as she shook her head. Little Yi doesn't know any better. You guys are all elders, why didn't you persuade Lin Shuai? Since his sect is here, why would he still want to hold his wedding in my Qin clan? Do you guys feel that this is good for Lin Shuai? This is Lin Shuai's own decision. We will naturally respect it. Sword Sovereign Ling Tian wasn't in a very good mood today. It was only because this was the day of his disciple's wedding that he endured it. You guys are the ones who know your own limitations. But since this is the case, why didn't you persuade Lin Shuai to leave Little Yi? Chen Shui lowered her voice as a look of unhappiness could be seen on her face. Lin Shuai and Little Yi are in love with each other. Since you are Little Yi's elder sister, why do you have to say such words? Yi Lingshuang unhappily spoke. Chen Shui is right. Lin Shuai is a man, how can he make Little Yi unable to lift her head high? This is simply irresponsible. If the beauties among you all wish to marry, I can introduce them to good men. You wouldn't have to worry about criticism. This is the difference between men and women. Hui Yan's voice was also very soft. He stared at Mo Qingcheng, Purgatory, Ruohuan, and the others. These women were truly extraordinary. You yourself are merely a Wu Xiu at the celestial phenomenon realm, yet you keep saying that senior brother Lin Shuai made Little Yi unable to lift her head high. Those who don't know would think that you are extremely powerful. Qin Wentian glanced at Hui Yan as he similarly lowered his voice. He didn't want to dampen the mood of his senior brother on the day of the wedding. However, the people here were all Wu Xiu. Although his voice was very soft, it still attracted some attention. Even Lin Shuai seemed to have sensed something. Your words are really funny. Hui Yan faintly spoke. Lin Shuai pulled Chen Yi over as he asked, what's wrong? Nothing much. Hui Yan turned around with a smile on his face. I'm trying to find out if any of the beauties in your sect are already married. If there aren't any, I might be able to find some good matches among the people here. Although his words sounded like a joke, and if the relationship between both parties was very good, it wouldn't matter. But coming from the mouth of Hui Yan, it was obvious that he was extremely disrespectful to the beauties around Qin Wentian. However, the crowd didn't feel this way. The sect of the Qin clan's son-in-law was so weak, and the banquet was hosted by the Qin clan. If these beauties could hook up with a descendant of the Qin clan, it would definitely be a wonderful thing for them. Hence, many people had expressions of interest on their faces. Chapter 12-17. Nephew Hua's words make sense. To think that there are so many good maidens in Nephew Lin's sect. If there are no marriages, us elders might be able to play matchmaker for them. An elder smiled. I wonder if this young lady is already married. A young man glanced in the direction of Mo Qingcheng as he inquired. This young man had an elegant demeanor and had an extraordinary background. He should be able to attract Mo Qingcheng's attention. However, Mo Qingcheng didn't even glance at him. She merely held on to Qin Wentian's hand, causing the expression of that young man to stiffen. He naturally understood Mo Qingcheng's meaning. Hui Yan stared at Qin Wentian and Mo Qingcheng as a hint of jealousy flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Lin Shuai walked over. His face was filled with unhappiness. He was very clear of the status of this junior apprentice brother of his. Qin Wentian was someone who could speak on equal terms with immortal kings, and he could even meet with the Emperor Qianbian. These people actually dared to think that they would dare to make a move on Mo Qingcheng? How ridiculous! In addition, the maidens beside Qin Wentian, Purgatory clearly had an extraordinary relationship with Qin Wentian. Qin Yao was Qin Wentian's elder sister, Yiling Shuang was his foster sister, and Luo Huan was his senior apprentice sister. With Qin Wentian present, how could these people dare to interfere? Even his junior apprentice sister, Lu Bingyu, was a proud and aloof person. How could she possibly be interested in these young men? He knew that the people of the Chen clan didn't regard him highly. But if the guests of the Chen clan wanted to covet the maidens beside Qin Wentian, they were far from qualified. What are you all doing? Today, the people of my sect came here to offer their congratulations, not to look for a husband. Lin Shuai's domineering eyes stared at Hui Yan as he spoke. His relationship with Chen Yi was extremely good, hence, he didn't care if the people of the Chen clan looked up to him or not. This wedding was only to give the Chen clan an explanation. After that, they would leave to temper themselves. He didn't care about the attitude of the Chen clan, but these people were disrespectful to his sect. Lin Shuai, mind your attitude. That's your brother-in-law. Chen Yi's elder brother, Chen Ao, walked over and coldly spoke. Hui Yan smiled at Lin Shuai as though he was watching a play. Everyone also had expressions of interest on their faces. Chen Ao was the elder brother of Lin Shuai and Hui Yan, and he had the same relationship with Lin Shuai and Hui Yan. But at this moment, he was berating Lin Shuai who was about to get married and shielding Hui Yan. From this, one could see the attitude of the Chen clan towards Lin Shuai. Senior brother, it's all right. Qin Wentian smiled. Since today was the wedding day of Lin Shuai and Chen Yi, he naturally didn't want to spoil the mood of the crowd. At the very least, he couldn't let Lin Shuai and the Chen clan fall out. If that happened, both senior brother Lin Shuai and Chen Yi would be in a difficult position. Junior brother Qin. Lin Shuai turned his gaze onto Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian lightly nodding his head as he transmitted his voice. Senior brother, we came here to congratulate you, not to disturb your wedding day. However, if senior brother wants me to do anything, you can tell me at any time. Lin Shuai froze for a moment before nodding his head lightly. What are you guys doing? Lin Shuai, prepare yourselves, the wedding ceremony is about to begin. The Qin clan was a prominent clan, they naturally had their own wedding ceremony. Lin Shuai nodded, only to see Chen Yi looking at Qin Wentian with an apologetic expression on her face. What kind of attitude is this? Chen Shuai coldly spoke upon seeing Lin Shuai and Chen Yi leaving. She didn't bother to hide, allowing Qin Wentian and the rest to hear her words clearly. From today onwards, that man will be the son-in-law of the Chen clan. Maybe, he might even live in your clan in the future, becoming half a master. Hui Yan mocked. How dare he be so disrespectful to your brother-in-law? If it wasn't for giving face to little E, I would have asked my father to directly kick him out of the clan. Chen Shui icily spoke. Forget it, today is the wedding day, let's not spoil the mood. Hui Yan spoke in a hypocritical manner. The smile on his face was extremely fake. The conversation between the two of them was heard by Qin Wentian and the rest. The countenances of those from the battle sword sect were all extremely unsightly to behold. These two were treating Lin Shuai's sect as thin air. From this, one could very well imagine how much contempt these two had for Lin Shuai. We've all cultivated for so many years, why are all of you so easily angered? Today, no one is allowed to spoil the mood. The old ancestor of the battle sword sect spoke when he saw the unhappiness on the faces of those from the battle sword sect. In such an occasion, even if they had to lose some face, they couldn't spoil the wedding between Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. Let's all go and watch the ceremony. The old ancestor spoke again. Everyone walked towards the center of the Chen clan. The wedding ceremony of the Chen clan first required them to pay respects to the ancestors of the Chen clan before serving tea to the elders and greeting their siblings, as well as their brother-in-law. Although the elders of the Chen clan didn't approve of Chen Yi and Lin Shuai being together, since Chen Yi had already agreed to it, they wouldn't intentionally make things difficult for them. Even Chen Ao, who had a cold expression on his face, after Chen Yi and Lin Shuai greeted each other, he still brought out some gifts to express his congratulations. However, when it was Hui Yan and Chen Shui's turn, Lin Shuai and Chen Yi stood in front of them, preparing to bow. However, Chen Shui directly evaded, causing the gazes of everyone to land on her. I'm not worthy of such a bow. Chen Shui unhappily spoke. Chen Shui. Father Chen solemnly spoke. This daughter of his actually dared to cause trouble at this moment. Elder sis, if Lin Shuai and I did anything wrong, you can tell us. Little E will apologize to elder sis and brother-in-law first. Chen Yi bowed as she spoke. Little E, this has nothing to do with you. Chen Shui spoke. Little E, your elder sis isn't unhappy with you. I just feel that it's a pity. After all, you are so outstanding. Hui Yan sighed, but a smile still hung on his face. Although he didn't finish his sentence, it was undoubtedly a slap to Lin Shuai's face. This bastard. Sword Sovereign Lingtian's countenance turned ashen when he saw his beloved disciple being purposely made things difficult for him. Yi Lingshuang's gaze was also extremely cold. She stared at Qin Wentian, who was beside her, as she transmitted her voice. Wentian, although senior brother Lin Shuai doesn't wish to borrow your fame to raise his own status, this person's cultivation base is only at the celestial phenomenon realm. Maybe, he is just relying on the power behind him to humiliate senior brother. Wentian, can you use a more gentle method to help senior brother? Under the precondition that you don't ruin the wedding ceremony. Sister Lingshuang. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to her. Senior brother has his own pride. If senior brother is unwilling, I won't force my thoughts onto him. This is a sign of respect to senior brother. Also, I've already hinted to senior brother that as long as he agrees, I will naturally do something. Fine. Yi Lingshuang nodded her head lightly, hoping that senior brother Lin Shuai would be able to think things through. She didn't like to borrow Wentian's prestige, but Lin Shuai loved to use it to bully others. Hui Yan's words caused Chen Yi to feel extremely unhappy when she heard it. She held on to Lin Shuai's hand, but she didn't even look at Chen Shui and Hui Yan. She didn't bow, but directly walked past them and bowed to another elder sister. Hui Yan's smile instantly froze on his face. Staring at the numerous gazes directed at him, Hui Yan felt a chill in his heart. Was this a show of disrespect for him? Elder sister, look. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face when he saw Chen Yi's determination. He finally understood why his senior brother Lin Shuai was willing to throw away some face just to marry Chen Yi. Back then when he was together with Imo Qingcheng, didn't he also encounter many objections? Chen Shui and Hui Yan's lips twitched, but they were restrained by Papa Chen's gaze. After the ceremony, the guests all gave their blessings. After which, Papa Chen spoke, Chen Ao, Chen Shui, go and help them with the arrangements. Right. Chen Ao and the others nodded. After that, they walked towards a middle-aged man in green and bowed, Senior Wen, please take the seat of honor. How can I do that? The seats of honor should be reserved for those closest to me. The middle-aged man in green shook his head and smiled. Brother Wen, there's no need to be so polite. If you don't sit, who else can? Papa Chen personally stepped forward and bowed. This middle-aged man's status was extremely high, and he came from an extremely powerful clan that belonged to an immortal king power. There was an immortal king expert in his clan who lived not too far away and had some friendship with Papa Chen. This was why he came here to attend this banquet. Since this is the case, it would be impolite of me to refuse. The middle-aged man in green nodded. The middle-aged man in green sat at the seat of honor. Many people clasped their hands to greet him as they chatted with him. Chen Ao, Chen Shui and the others continued to arrange the seats of the guests. Qin Wentian and the others from the Battle Sword sect were completely ignored. Seeing that the seats were almost full, even the serving maids were seated at the very back. Only now did Chen Shui and Hui Yan walk over. Hui Yan smiled, everyone, my apologies. Before this, we didn't know that Lin Shui also had a sect. Hence, we weren't able to prepare so many seats for the guests. Why don't you all take the seats at the very back? The people from the Battle Sword sect all had cold expressions on their faces. Yi Lingshuang coldly spoke, is this the Chen clan's way of etiquette? We didn't even invite you guys in the first place. You guys actually came here on your own accord. Could it be that you guys want to sit at the top with your status? Chen Shui impolitely spoke in a low voice. Do you guys know who Senior Wen is? He's an expert from an immortal king clan. Do you guys think that you are qualified to sit together with him? Lin Shui stood on the ceremonial stage. There was no trace of a happy smile on his face. Today was his wedding day and he didn't really care about his face. However, he didn't expect that the people from the Chen clan would intentionally make things difficult for those from his sect. Chen Shui's words entered his ears without missing a single word. Ladies, if there aren't any seats, feel free to squeeze a little. A young man smiled as he glanced at the beauties from the Battle Sword sect. His tone contained hints of mockery. That young man also came from a powerful clan and hence, he didn't feel any taboo. That Senior Wen kept staring at Qin Wentian in the direction of the Battle Sword sect. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he asked Father Chen, what's the name of that handsome young man in white? They are from Lin Shui's sect. That young man should be his junior apprentice brother but he should have encountered some good fortune. His aura is extraordinary and his aura is retracted. However, the two beauties beside him seem to be at the Immortal Foundation realm. Father Chen spoke in a light voice. He didn't really care about a few Immortal Foundation experts. After all, there were many Immortal Foundation experts among the guests. Do you know his name? The green-robed middle-aged man asked. Before this, I heard Lin Shui referring to him as junior apprentice brother Qin. Do you need me to ask him? Father Chen asked. Qin. The heart of the green-robed middle-aged man trembled. Seems like he was right. His Wen clan was an immortal king-ranked power in the Cloud Prefecture. How would a power of this level dare to ignore an existence like the immortal Qianbian Gate? In his Wen clan, there were many important characters of the immortal Qianbian Gate. Among them, there was an extremely important character named Qin Wentian. Seems like he had to inform the old ancestor to make a trip here. After all, he didn't have the qualifications to converse with such a character. Chapter 12:18. On the stage, Chen Yi held on to Lin Shui's hand, smiling as she stared ahead. She exerted some force in her grip, tightly holding on to Lin Shui's palm. She could feel Lin Shui's embarrassment, and this was also her embarrassment. I really don't care about this wedding. Even if there are some unpleasantness, I won't mind. Chen Yi transmitted her voice to Lin Shui. If you are unhappy, just show it. After this, we will leave. Even if you want to do something, you just need to follow your heart. This wedding should be given to you. It's just that marrying me would cause you to lose face in front of everyone. Lin Shuai sighed. I'm fine. Since I've already made my choice, I don't care about anything else. On the other hand, the people from your sect suffered some grievances. Also, from Hui Yan's attitude, it seems like he isn't willing to let this matter rest. Chen Yi helplessly spoke. She also didn't expect that the people who humiliated Lin Shuai's sect would actually be her smiling brother-in-law and her elder sister Qin Shui. How can I bear to spoil our wedding? Lin Shuai sighed. His gaze turned in the direction of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian instantly sensed it and turned to Lin Shuai. After that, he only saw his senior brother nodding lightly at him. Qin Wentian laughed. He then turned to Purgatory behind him. Since someone invited you, go and take a seat. Right. Purgatory nodded. After that, she walked in the direction of the young man who spoke earlier. This young man was a descendant of the Wan clan. His power in this region wasn't small. His name was Wan Jiansheng and he cultivated the sword Wuxiu. When he saw Purgatory walking towards him, a look of joy involuntarily appeared on his face. He instantly stood up and offered a seat to her with a smile. Little miss, please take a seat. Purgatory didn't stand on ceremony and directly sat down. Qin Wentian smiled. Let us sit at the back. Let's not disturb senior brother's wedding. When everyone saw that Qin Wentian had spoken, they naturally nodded. Even Sword Sovereign Ling Tian didn't have any objections. The group of them really walked to the back of the banquet hall and sat together with many maids. When Qin Shui and Hui Yan saw this scene, expressions of mockery appeared on their faces. In the end, he still had some self-awareness. Those from the Battle Sword sect all sat down. Even the serving girls had looks of disdain on their faces. But because of their statuses, they didn't dare to speak carelessly. Their eyes were filled with disdain. Lin Shuai. Chen Yi glanced at Lin Shuai beside her. Leave it to junior apprentice brother Qin. Lin Shuai held on to Chen Yi's hand as he spoke. Chen Yi had a puzzled expression on her face. Leave it to junior apprentice brother Qin. Let's go toast. Lin Shuai no longer cared about the attitudes of the crowd. Originally, he didn't want his relationship with Chen Yi to be tainted by external impurities. He only wanted it to be simple and simple. However, it seemed that these impurities were everywhere. He didn't want to use Qin Wentian's identity to show off his strength, but because of this, others would look down on him and even humiliate him. In that case, he could only let junior brother Qin Wentian handle it. Of course, he believed that with Qin Wentian's current status and his experience in the immortal domain, he would definitely be able to handle the matter perfectly. Alright. Hearing Lin Shuai's words, Chen Yi naturally didn't take it to heart. She walked towards the banquet with Lin Shuai and raised her cup to the green-robed middle-aged man. Lin Shuai, little Yi, this is Senior One. Father Chen intentionally introduced. Senior One. Lin Shuai raised his cup in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. His words caused Father Chen to furrow his brows. This Lin Shuai didn't know how to read the situation. The person he personally introduced clearly had an extraordinary status, yet Lin Shuai merely greeted him in a casual manner. However, the green-robed middle-aged man didn't seem to mind. He directly stood up and smiled at Lin Shuai. Noble nephew Lin Shuai's demeanor is extraordinary. I believe that in the future, you will have a bright future ahead of you. I hope that noble nephew and niece will be able to grow old together. Mr. Fong, there's no need to be so polite. Father Chen hurriedly spoke, indicating for the middle-aged man to sit down. However, the green-robed middle-aged man waved his hands. It's what I should do, it's what I should do. If noble nephew and niece are free in the future, you can come visit my Fong clan often. We will definitely treat you as esteemed guests. After speaking, he drained his cup in a single gulp, appearing extremely forthright. After that, he stared at Lin Shuai with interest, as though he admired Lin Shuai. This caused Lin Shuai and Chen Yi to feel somewhat puzzled. However, they didn't think too much about it and continued to toast to the guests. Chen Ao, Chen Shui, and the others also accompanied them to toast to welcome the guests. After all, there were so many guests, their brothers and sisters naturally had to help out. However, as they walked, Hui Yan walked towards Qin Wentian and the others who were seated at the end of the line. He smiled, "Everyone, you all came from afar, I've truly wronged you all. It's just that this is how the prestigious clans of the Battle Sword sect are. Everything depends on one's status." The meaning behind his words was naturally that those from the Battle Sword sect who were seated at the end of the line had a lower status. Hence, it was only natural for them to behave in such a manner. "Naturally, we won't," Yiling Shuang coldly replied. "There's no lack of snobbish people everywhere. If we take offense, wouldn't we be asking for a snub? In addition, it's fine if some snobbish people have the capital to do so. But they are clearly ant-like characters, yet they still think they are lofty existences. Do you really want to bother with such shameless blind people?" Hui Yan's gaze froze, staring at the coldness in Yiling Shuang's eyes. An expression of interest involuntarily appeared in his eyes as he smiled. This young miss probably hasn't seen much of the world and thinks that just being at the celestial phenomenon realm is already a lofty position. "If you are still single, why don't you follow me to my clan to broaden your horizons? Maybe you might even have a chance to become a concubine of an immortal. We came from a small place and truly haven't seen much of the world. Hence, we have always maintained our humility. Unlike you, a mere celestial phenomenon ascendant like Wu Xiu, you are even more arrogant compared to immortal kings." Yiling Shuang sarcastically spoke. When she was at the immortal Qianbian Gate, she had interacted with immortal kings before. All of them had warm smiles on their faces, exuding elegance and grace. How could she be so despicable? Immortal king? Hui Yan had a mocking smile on his face. Using such a method to elevate yourself? Aren't you being too vain? Such lofty existences, how could they even meet them? As he spoke, he poured the wine in his cup onto the ground and departed. How was he here to propose a toast? Son-in-law Hua is a direct descendant of the Hua clan and has a chance to inherit the position of clan leader in the future. His status is extraordinary, and since you guys are the seniors of his sect, comparing the two of you. A serving girl at the side spoke in a light voice. The serving girls all lowered their heads and giggled. These people were truly shameful. To think that I was actually looked down upon by a serving girl. Qin Wentian speechlessly smiled bitterly. On the other side, Wan Jianqing stared at Purgatory beside him. The more he looked at her, the more his heart stirred. Purgatory exuded an innate demonic sense of beauty, causing the heartbeats of people to quicken involuntarily. I wonder if this beauty has someone in mind. Wan Jianqing moved closer to Purgatory. His hand that was holding onto the wine cup moved towards Purgatory's arm. But at the instant his hand came into contact with Purgatory's arm, he screamed in shock. The wine cup directly fell to the ground as his arm trembled. Everyone turned their gazes over. Purgatory stared at Wan Jianqing and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Wan Jianqing frowned. Earlier at that instant, he felt a warm current flowing into his hand, causing him to feel some piercing pain. Everyone shifted their gazes away. Wan Jianqing continued to probe with his words, but Purgatory merely sat there coldly, as though she couldn't be bothered to waste her breath. But the more she acted this way, the more Wan Jianqing's heart itched. He coldly laughed in his heart. Someone from Lin Shuai's sect had such a despicable status. Although this woman was beautiful, how could she be mentioned in the same breath as him? Even if he wanted to marry this woman, it would be extremely easy. Yet, this woman actually didn't even bother to glance at him. When he thought of this, Wan Jianqing's heart stirred. When he stared at Purgatory's flawless face, his guts grew bigger. With a twist of his body, he actually pretended to fall over as he lunged towards Purgatory. However, there wasn't any panic in his eyes. He stared fixedly at Purgatory's ample bosom as his devil claws stretched out. Arg! A scream of misery rang out. Wang Jiancheng naturally didn't manage to touch purgatory. At the instant his devil claws stretched out, a terrifying heat current directly gushed into his body. Half of his body was instantly charred black as he screamed in agony. This scene shocked everyone so much that they stood up and turned their gazes over. Jiansheng. A middle-aged expert from the leader's seat flashed over. When he saw Wang Jiansheng's injuries and how one of his arms was crippled, his expression instantly turned ashen as he stared at purgatory. Lowly slave. This expert couldn't care less that this was Lin Shuai's wedding. Hui Yan and Chen Shui immediately flew over. Hui Yan stared at purgatory as he spoke, "How dare you act so viciously on the wedding day? As expected of a bunch of trash from a major power. Even if you are from Lin Shuai's sect, we won't spare you today." Many people had expressions of interest on their faces as they watched with interest. This was especially so for some Immortal Foundation experts. They could sense that purgatory was also an immortal. Only to see that at this moment, purgatory slowly stood up. Instantly, a terrifying immortal might gushed forth from her as a fiery heat enveloped the entire space. For a moment, Hui Yan, who was at the front, was directly suffocated by the pressure as he perspired profusely. How powerful! At this moment, the eyes of many flashed with shock. The cultivation base of this woman was so high. Even the expressions of those Immortal Foundation experts changed as they all stood up in shock. Who did you guys say is a lowly slave? Purgatory's expression was as cold as ice. She stared at Hui Yan and the middle-aged expert beside Wang Jiansheng. Even that middle-aged expert felt a sense of pressure under Purgatory's pressure. One must know that his cultivation base was at the 6th level and the aura of this woman wasn't any weaker compared to him. Lin Shuai, Chen Yi, and the others also arrived. Chen Yi's eyes flashed with shock. This woman was actually so powerful. Father Chen also arrived. The middle-aged expert beside Wang Jiansheng had an ashen expression as he spoke. Brother Chen, how does Brother Chen intend to deal with the fact that my son's arm was crippled during the wedding? This woman is too impudent, she actually dared to display her might in public. Hui Yan's father also walked over, standing in front of Hui Yan as he coldly stared at purgatory. On the other side, Qin Wentian slowly put down the wine cup in his hand as he inclined his head. Chapter 12-19. Father Chen glanced at purgatory before checking the injuries on Wang Jiansheng's arms. Although they were destroyed by immortal energy, they could still be healed with precious immortal medicines. Brother Wan, our Chen clan will do our best to treat the injuries of virtuous nephew. Father Chen spoke to Wang Jiansheng's father. The Wan clan was equal to his Chen clan, he naturally couldn't afford to offend them. As for you. Father Chen stared at purgatory with a look of surprise on his face. Before this, he already felt that this maiden's aura was extraordinary and there was a high possibility that she was an Immortal Foundation character. Seems like it was true now, and she was even stronger than he had expected. Lin Shuai's sect still had many geniuses that appeared. Their strength had already surpassed the elders of the sect. My Chen clan will treat his injuries. Miss, just apologize. Father Chen spoke. Brother Chen, is an apology enough? How would Wang Jiansheng's father let this go so easily? What does Brother Wan want? Father Chen asked. This maiden is too arrogant. Hand her over to me and I will bring her back to the Wan clan. Wang Jiansheng's father spoke. Father, it's already a grievance for little E to marry Lin Shuai. To think that someone from Lin Shuai's sect actually dares to be so arrogant. This is simply unforgivable. Hui Yan coldly spoke. The cultivation base of this maiden was actually so high. This made him extremely unhappy. Purgatory. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Everyone turned their heads only to see Qin Wentian, who was seated at the end of the row. Today is my senior brother's wedding. Don't spoil the mood. Qin Wentian spoke. Purgatory didn't say anything, she quietly walked back to Qin Wentian's side. Everyone stared at Qin Wentian, guessing who this man was exactly. It seemed that this maiden was more obedient to him. Senior brother, the elders of our sect and I came here today to sincerely congratulate you. It's just that there's actually someone who dares to say such disrespectful words to you on your wedding day. This is something I cannot tolerate. Qin Wentian stared at Lin Shuai as he spoke. After that, his gaze landed on Huyen. Earlier, you spoke rudely, and now you speak again. I want to ask you something. Your cultivation base isn't even comparable to my senior brother, so where did you get the courage to point your fingers here? And what identity do you have to speak here? I'm Little Yi's brother-in-law. How dare you tell me what to do? Huyen was extremely unhappy when he saw the contempt in Qin Wentian's eyes. Since you're my brother-in-law, you should be of the same generation as my senior brother Lin, and your relationship should be equal. Even if your cultivation base is lower than his, what right do you have to talk so much? Qin Wentian said. Hee hee. Huyen sneered, the Qin clan is a prestigious clan, and so is my Hu clan. That's why I have a relationship with Qin Shui. But what does your sect count as? In that case, you came here with the identity of a member of the Hu clan. Bluntly speaking, you feel that you are a tier higher than others because of your background. In reality, you are nothing but trash. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. Since you're using the identity of a member of the Hu clan to point fingers at my senior brother's wedding day and even humiliate my senior brother's sect, calling my friend a lowly slave. The Hu clan should be very powerful, right? Truly a fellow who has never seen the world before. Someone mocked. The Hu clan is a peak power in this generation and has many Immortal Foundation experts. There are even quite a few who stand at the peak of Immortal Foundation. What do you think? Huyen had a cold smile on his face. His back was ramrod straight, as though he felt very honored. Brother Qin, shouldn't such a person be directly expelled? Wan Jianqing's father coldly spoke. How does the Qin clan treat their guests exactly? At this moment, another person spoke. Just when Father Qin was preparing to express his stance, the green-robed middle-aged man from the Fang clan walked over with a look of unhappiness on his face. Father Chen's heart trembled, he didn't expect that the people from Lin Shuai's sect would actually anger him. Most probably, it was because of that female who injured him. Seems like he could only expel the people from Lin Shuai's sect. You guys are truly laughable. Qin Ao stared at Qin Wentian and the others as he berated. Wan Jianqing's father and Huyen's father both had smiles on their faces as they stared at the green-robed middle-aged man walking over to uphold justice. Brother Fang. The few of them bowed. These people are too arrogant, I didn't expect that Brother Fang would be alerted. Huyen's father spoke. Uncle Fang, there's no need to trouble you with this matter. Huyen bowed to the green-robed middle-aged man, extremely polite. Who's your uncle? All of a sudden, a cold voice drifted over. Huyen froze as he inclined his head and stared at the green-robed middle-aged man. He only saw coldness flickering in the eyes of the middle-aged man as he icily spoke, as the son-in-law of the Qin clan, you actually dare to humiliate the people from Lin Shuai's sect in such a setting? Don't you feel that your status is too high and mighty? Brother Fang. Huyen's father's mind spun, he completely couldn't understand why the green-robed middle-aged man would have such an attitude. This person came from an immortal king power and had a respectable status. However, he was humble and didn't put on airs. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have acted in such a manner. Hua Han, how can you teach your son like this? I thought you were someone worth befriending in the past. From today onwards, I, Fang, will sever all relations with your Hu clan. The green-robed middle-aged man spoke in a booming voice, his words causing everyone in the surroundings to be stunned. They had no idea what was going on exactly. What was going on exactly? Fang. Wan Jianqing's father, who was at the side, called out in a trembling voice. And you. Before Wan Jianqing finished speaking, the green-robed middle-aged man turned to him and spoke. Wan Jianqing publicly took liberties with someone from Lin Shuai's sect. Do you think we're blind? This small lesson is already considered a light punishment. You actually want the Qin clan to hand Wan Jianqing over to you? Do you think the Qin clan has the qualifications to capture someone from Lin Shuai's sect? Brother Fang, please calm your anger. Father Qin consoled. Brother Qin. The green-robed middle-aged man glanced at Father Qin. Father Qin relaxed when he heard that the way the middle-aged man addressed him didn't change. Qin Shui and Hui Yan are too outrageous. If you encounter anything, don't protect the two of them. Moreover, today is the day of little Yi and nephew Lin Shuai's wedding, so it should be a joyous occasion. How can we allow these rascals to cause trouble on such a joyous occasion? The green-clothed middle-aged man lectured earnestly. Brother Fang is right. Father Qin hurriedly nodded. He suddenly recalled the attitude the middle-aged man had towards Lin Shuai. Noble nephew Lin Shuai. Also, earlier, this middle-aged man seemed to have inquired about Lin Shuai's junior brother. Could it be, Father Chen was naturally an intelligent man? When he thought of this, a light flashed through his mind. Could it be that this middle-aged man originated from some aristocratic clan? However, he didn't understand. If this was the case, why would he join such a weak sect like Lin Shuai? The Hua and Wan clans are too outrageous. In the future when we meet, just treat us as strangers. We no longer have any relationship with each other. The green-robed middle-aged man spoke in a cold tone. Qin Wentian sat there quietly as he watched everything unfold. Such a situation was something he didn't expect. Also, at this moment, that green-robed middle-aged man actually started walking towards him. Everyone naturally saw this as well. They stared at the green-robed middle-aged man who was walking step by step towards Qin Wentian. Lin Shuai, little Yi, come with me. Father Qin spoke and followed after him. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the figure before him. He didn't know who this person was. The middle-aged man was currently holding onto a wine cup as he stood before him. Before this, I, Fang, was still bewildered. I didn't know which character would have such a carefree demeanor until I suddenly recalled that I once had a chance to see young Lord Qin's portrait. Hence, I came here to propose a toast. I hope young Lord Qin won't blame me for being rude. As he spoke, under the shocked gazes of everyone, this green-robed middle-aged man who was so domineering when facing the major characters from the Hua and Wan clans, was now holding onto a wine cup with both hands as he respectfully leaned forward. His back was extremely low, as though he was looking down on Qin Wentian. Although Father Chen had already guessed that Qin Wentian might be a descendant of an aristocrat clan, he was still so shocked that he halted his steps when he saw this scene. This green-robed middle-aged man was named Fang Huai. He was from an immortal king aristocrat clan and had an extraordinary status. Even if Qin Wentian was a descendant of an ordinary immortal king aristocrat clan, he should be able to treat them the same way. But right now, his attitude was extremely humble. This didn't seem to be how one would treat an ordinary immortal king aristocrat clan. Unless, Qin Wentian came from a power even stronger than the Fang clan. Not only that, his power was much stronger than the Fang clan. When he thought of this, Father Chen's heart trembled. This was an opportunity. But sadly, he had almost offended this young man to death. That bastard Hui Yan and Lin Shuai actually didn't mention this before. Hui Yan and the others were all stunned by this scene. When they saw the green-robed middle-aged man proposing a toast, just when they thought that Qin Wentian would stand up and return the toast, they discovered to their astonishment that Qin Wentian had no intentions of standing up at all. He only quietly stared at the green-robed middle-aged man, thinking that this man was truly an intelligent man. How could it be that he just found out about his identity? Clearly, he already knew about it long ago, but he didn't warn Father Chen, choosing to wait quietly until an opportunity to befriend him appeared. Only then did he unhesitatingly step out to express his goodwill. This green-robed middle-aged man naturally couldn't be considered a good person. Naturally, Qin Wentian didn't mind the intentions of this man. The appearance of this middle-aged man at this moment was indeed timely. Hence, a strange scene appeared. The descendant of an immortal king aristocrat who was sitting at the head of the table, a lofty character, simply stood there with his wine cup in hand, not showing any signs of impatience at all. Yet, the young man quietly sat there, appearing extremely calm. Father Chen's heart pounded even more violently when he saw this scene. He simply didn't dare to continue guessing. Who exactly was this young man? Lin Shuai, who is your junior brother? Father Chen transmitted his voice to Lin Shuai. Lin Shuai glanced at him, silently sighing at the reality of human nature. He didn't want to borrow the prestige of his junior brother, but instead, he was treated with disdain and his sect was humiliated. However, even before Qin Wentian stated his identity, he, his father-in-law, was already feeling uneasy. At this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura suddenly gushed over. The crowd inclined their heads in shock, only to see a supreme silhouette descending from the sky. We pay our respects to the old ancestor. The green-robed middle-aged man's follower knelt on the ground as he respectfully called out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. The old ancestor of the Fang clan. An immortal king expert has arrived. This old ancestor of the Fang clan who just arrived appeared to be extremely young. He directly landed beside the green-robed middle-aged man, his gaze landing on Qin Wentian as he clasped his hands. I'm Fang Mu of the Fang clan. I didn't expect that I would be able to witness young Lord Qin's glory here. It's truly an honor. As the sound of his voice rang out, it was like a thunderbolt from the clear skies. Everyone stood up in shock. Chapter 12:20. Fang Clan, Fang Mu. The ancestor of the Fang clan, an immortal king. In this region, the strongest clan was the Fang clan, the leader of an immortal king clan. A lofty immortal king, an existence that people could only look up to. At this moment, he personally stepped into the Qin clan. This was supposed to be the supreme glory of the Qin clan, but was the Qin clan truly glorious? At this moment, Papa Qin was only nervous. The ancestor of the Fang clan had personally arrived, but he wasn't here for the wedding, but for one person. And this person was the junior brother of his son-in-law, Lin Shuai. This junior brother was humiliated by his other son-in-law, Hui Yan, and many people rolled their eyes at him. This junior brother was supposed to be a distinguished guest, but his son-in-law and daughter arranged for him to sit in a corner with the maids, and he was mocked by others. This junior brother, the woman beside him was humiliated, and they were discussing how to capture him and send him to the Wan clan to be punished. How could Papa Qin not be nervous? Of course he was nervous. Not only was he nervous, he was also regretful, and he wanted to slap himself on the head. At this moment, if he still didn't understand that Qin Wentian was a disciple of a supreme clan, then there must be something wrong with his brain. He naturally wouldn't suspect that the ancestor of the Fang clan, Fang Mu, would make a mistake like this. How could an immortal king make such a mistake? This was as stupid as suspecting that an immortal would be killed by a mortal. When he saw the green-robed middle-aged man toasting Qin Wentian, he had already started to overestimate Qin Wentian's status. But evidently, he still underestimated him, and by a huge margin. An immortal king had personally come and addressed the young man as young Master Qin. He simply didn't dare to imagine what kind of status this young man had. People of such status were usually people he could only look up to. They were high above, and he couldn't afford to get close to them. But when this young man came to their clan to attend a banquet, they treated him like this. One could well imagine Papa Chen's current mood. Hui Yan, Qin Shui, Qin Ao, these bastards. Papa Chen cursed in his heart. My junior brother is from the immortal Qinbian Gate. At this moment, Lin Shuai's voice traveled into Papa Chen's ears, replying to his words. At this moment, Papa Chen's heart violently twitched, and he sucked in a breath of cold air, feeling that his mind was a little muddled. So that was the case. No wonder, an immortal king faction. The Thousand Transformations Immortal sect was on equal footing with the Eastern Sage Immortal sect. They controlled 6 prefectures and had powerful immortal emperor-level existences. Wan Jianqing's father, Hui Yan's father, both of them were so frightened that their countenances turned pale. Earlier, they had actually offended Qin Wentian. They naturally understood what this meant. This meant that a single sentence from Qin Wentian could cause their entire clan to be annihilated from the Cloud Prefecture. Mu clan of Mu. In Mu, the clan, Mu clan, the Yun Mu, was, Chen, was, and Mu. King Mu, Yun clan, Mu, and they, Mu, Chen, Mu, and clan, and king, had personally, clan, Mu, Chen, Shui, Mu, let alone them, even Lin Shuai's wife, Chen Yi, had her beautiful eyes frozen. Everyone stood up in shock. After that, they quietly stared ahead. The immortal king stood before Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was still seated, as though he had no intentions of standing up. Senior Fang is too polite. Please take a seat. Qin Wentian smiled. Given his current status, there was no need for him to care about an ordinary immortal king. But after all, an immortal king had personally come to pay a visit. Although he might have some ulterior motives, he still had to be courteous. But even so, he didn't act too courteously and stood up to welcome the immortal king. He knew that there was no need for him to stand up. This immortal king clearly knew of his identity. In that case, he represented the immortal Qianbian gate. For a character who was known as the disciple of the Emperor Qianbian, why would he need to stand up and pay his respects to an ordinary immortal king of the Cloud Prefecture? Upon seeing Qin Wentian sitting there as though it was a matter of course, Fang Mu didn't have any strange expressions on his face. He actually sat opposite of Qin Wentian, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. An immortal king didn't even stand up when he came. Who was this man exactly? At this moment, Father Chen was no longer able to remain calm. An immortal king actually sat at the end of the banquet? Was this even possible? Senior. Father Chen walked over and respectfully stood there. Senior, please move to the main seat. Since young Master Qin is here today, I came to pay a visit. I am merely accompanying him. Wherever young Master Qin sits, I will naturally sit there. Fang Mu calmly smiled. As an immortal king, there was no need for him to deliberately flatter Qin Wentian. However, his words were still extremely beautiful. There was no other reason. What sort of character was Qin Wentian? It was rumored that he was the disciple that the Emperor Qianbian valued the most. For him, Qin Wentian had even started a war with the Dongshengshan Gate. The Dongshengshan Gate had always wanted to kill him but failed to do so. For such an existence, regardless of how glorious his future would be, since his Fang clan was located in the Cloud Prefecture city and had a close relationship with the disciple of the Emperor Qianbian, it could be said that there were only benefits and no disadvantages for the Fang clan. If the Fang clan had some changes in the future, with the disciple of the Emperor Qianbian, who would dare to touch the Fang clan? If it wasn't for this, why would an immortal king like him personally come here? Father Chen's heart trembled even more. His gaze was complicated as he stared at Qin Wentian. His eyes were filled with deep regret as he spoke. Chen didn't know young Master Qin's identity. Before this, the people of my Chen clan have offended you. I hope that young Master Qin can forgive me and move to the main seat. Earlier, a certain someone said that our statuses are lowly, we should just sit here. I have no idea who he is or what power he came from. But since he arranged for me to sit here, I will naturally stay here quietly. After all, I'm only here to celebrate my senior brother's birthday and have no intention of causing trouble. Clan Lord Chen, just go ahead and attend to my senior brother's wedding, there's no need to care about me. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, without the slightest bit of arrogance. Just like what he said, he came here today to attend the wedding and not to cause trouble. But at this moment, everyone was staring at him, not daring to sit down. Father Chen felt even more uneasy. He turned his head and stared at Hui Yan as he berated, Hui Yan, why are you still not coming over? Go over. At this moment, Hui Yan's father didn't even bother about Father Chen's attitude. At this moment, how would he dare to do so? How could his Hui clan afford to offend someone who could cause an immortal king to personally pay a visit? Not only for him, Wan Jianqing's father was also trembling with fear as he pulled his son Wan Jianqing towards Qin Wentian. My son is too rude. I, Hui Yan, have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hereby beg for forgiveness from young Lord Qin. Hui Yan's father bowed. One couldn't help but say that their ability to change the direction of the wind was truly amazing. However, Hui Yan clearly didn't have his father's comprehension. He was still struggling. Why are you still not apologizing to young Lord Qin? Hui Yan's father berated. Hui Yan still didn't speak, as though he was in extreme pain, struggling in his heart. I don't dare. Qin Wendian coldly laughed in his heart when he saw the expression on Hui Yan's face. He calmly spoke, before this, my elder sister already said that even immortal kings aren't as arrogant as him. How can we afford to apologize to him? Before this, I also said that the reason why he dared to cause trouble at my senior brother's wedding was because of his identity as a member of the Hua clan. In that case, I will pay a visit to the Hua clan when I'm free. I want to see what the Hua clan of the Cloud Prefecture city is like exactly. Hui Yan and his son instantly turned as pale as paper. This was especially so for Hui Yan's father. These words were like a bolt from the blue to him. Given Qin Wentian's identity, what kind of situation would he be in if he paid a visit to the Hua clan? The Hua clan is truly an honor to be able to make young Lord Qin pay a visit. You guys still don't know young Lord Qin's identity, right? Back then, young Lord Qin obtained first place in the 100-year immortal banquet of the Dongshengshan Gate. The Emperor of Qianbian wanted to accept him as a disciple but was rejected. After that, young Lord Qin was brought away by the Emperor of Qianbian and established the immortal Qianbian Gate. There are rumors in the outside world that young Lord Qin is the beloved disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. Plop. Hui Yan's father directly knelt on the ground, both his legs were trembling. The beloved disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. These words were like thunder to him. His son actually dared to humiliate the disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. This was simply... Heavens, this was simply unimaginable. Kneel down. Hui Yan's father roared. With a plop, Hui Yan also knelt down. The last bit of pride he had was directly shattered. At this moment, his mind was in a complete mess. He actually dared to act so arrogantly in front of a disciple of a monarch. He was merely a member of a powerful immortal foundation clan, but in front of the immortal Qianbian Gate, a power that ruled over 6 prefectures, he was simply an ant. Wan Jianqing's father and Wan Jianqing were so frightened that they knelt down as well. Their countenances were as pale as paper. At this moment, Father Chen was stunned as well. Immortal Qianbian Gate. Lin Shuai said that Qin Wentian came from the immortal Qianbian Gate, but he didn't say that he was the disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. The junior apprentice brother of his son-in-law was the disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. Qin Wentian came to his home to attend his daughter's wedding and was actually humiliated, sitting at the very end. This. Father Chen's mind was completely numb. As for those serving girls who mocked him earlier, all of them were trembling in fear, not daring to raise their heads to look at Qin Wentian. Young Lord Qin, please forgive us. Father Chen lowered his head extremely low. Even Chen Yi was stunned. She stared at Lin Shuai. She basically didn't dare to imagine that Lin Shuai would have such a junior apprentice brother. Little Yi, I didn't intentionally hide this from you. Junior apprentice brother Qin is my junior apprentice brother from our particle world. Later on, he was able to reach where he is today because of his own talent. Our sect is already under his protection and protection. I don't wish to use the name of my junior apprentice brother to attract too much attention. Lin Shuai transmitted his voice to Chen Yi. Chen Yi slowly nodded her head, returning to her senses. She walked forward and spoke to Qin Wentian, young Lord Qin, if my father has done anything inappropriate, I hope you won't blame him. Sister-in-law, what are you saying? Qin Wentian hurriedly stood up. He could ignore these people, but since Chen Yi was here, he naturally had to stand up. Senior brother Lin Shuai doted on this junior apprentice brother of mine very much back then, treating him like an elder brother. His wife is also my kin. Sister-in-law, you can just call me Wentian. Qin Wentian's voice was gentle, his words causing the gazes of everyone to look at Chen Yi in a different light. The sister-in-law of the beloved disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian, this wasn't an ordinary status. Father Chen's heart pounded violently. In the future, the Qin clan would have to depend on Little Yi and Lin Shuai. In the future, he would definitely do his best to make up for the mistakes he made today. Chapter 12:21. Chen Yi could naturally feel a sense of closeness from Qin Wentian. Most probably, Lin Shuai and Qin Wentian had an extremely good relationship back then, which was why he treated her as his kin. If not, how could she be acquainted with such a character? Wentian. Chen Yi didn't act pretentious, she smiled and called out. Qin Wentian's smile grew even gentler. His gaze landed on Mo Qingcheng who was beside him. Mo Qingcheng walked up, causing the gazes of everyone to land on her. Right now, when they looked at Mo Qingcheng again, they only felt that she was like a celestial maiden from the heavens, unreachable. She was Qin Wentian's woman. What was laughable was that earlier, there were actually many people who had the ridiculous thought that it was a pity for such a beauty to follow Qin Wentian. Sister Little Yi, this is a small token of our sincerity. Congratulations to you and senior brother. Mo Qingcheng took out an interspatial ring and passed it to Chen Yi. Chen Yi started, she stared at Lin Shuai only to see Lin Shuai nodding his head lightly, since this is the sincerity of junior brother Qin and sister-in-law Qingcheng, just accept it. Chen Yi nodded lightly, smiling sweetly at Mo Qingcheng as she spoke in a low voice, Qingcheng, you are so beautiful. Sister Little Yi is the same as well. Mo Qingcheng smiled. Those from the battle sword sect all stood up. A moment later, Hui Yan, Wang Jiansheng and the others all retreated, kneeling at the side. Sword Sovereign Ling Tian, Yi Lingshuang, and the others all felt that they had finally vented their anger. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian, they would have to endure this for a long time. Lin Shuai, Little Yi, this is a token of our sincerity. Please accept it. Everyone presented their gifts. Lin Shuai bowed to them, the gifts from the various elders, no matter what they are the most precious to me. If Lin Shuai said this before, he would surely be unhappy and even mocked. But now that he said it like this, no one dared to object. Qin clan leader, those eyesores shouldn't appear here. This is my senior brother's wedding. Just tell these people to scram. Qin Wentian couldn't be bothered to be calculative with these people. These people weren't worthy at all. Young Master Qin, please calm down. We will scram right away. Hui Yan's father knelt on the ground and hurriedly pulled Hui Yan and the rest away. Chen Shui's countenance stiffened, she didn't know if she should leave or not. Father Chen glanced at her and spoke, you can scram with your husband. Chen Shui could feel the anger in her father's heart. It was no wonder that she and Hui Yan were the ones who had insulted Qin Wentian the most. Thinking back to how she had boasted and acted so arrogantly in front of Qin Wentian, she felt so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. She left with her tail between her legs. Lin Shuai was her brother-in-law, a close relative. Her brother-in-law's junior apprentice brother was the disciple of the Emperor Qianbian. Originally, she even had the opportunity to visit a legendary place like the immortal Qianbian Gate. But now, she knew that it was impossible. Let alone Lin Shuai and his sect, even her father and her younger sister wouldn't want to see her again. Those who mocked Qin Wentian's sect and teased the beauties around Qin Wentian all left with their tails between their legs. Since they knew of Qin Wentian's identity, it was clear that he wasn't a celestial phenomenon ascendant. Given his cultivation base, how could he not remember what people said before? Now that he didn't want to bother with them, what else could they do other than scram? Some of the elders of the Chen clan also arrived. After knowing of Qin Wentian's identity, all of them were filled with respect. Their gazes were extremely sharp when they stared at Father Chen, evidently unhappy with him. Young Master Qin, it's better for you to change seats. Father Chen still didn't dare to be the slightest bit casual. Qin Wentian treated Chen Yi well because of Lin Shuai. Although he was Chen Yi's father, his attitude towards Lin Shuai's sect earlier couldn't be considered friendly. Not only that, from how Qin Wendian addressed him as Qin Clan Lord, it was clear that Qin Wendian wasn't very happy with him. No need, the seats don't matter. It's also not bad to chat with Senior Fang here. Qin Clan Lord, you can go ahead and do what you need to do. I've already said that I'm merely here to accompany the guests. I only hope that my senior brother and sister-in-law's wedding would be a happy one. Qin Wendian spoke. At this moment, Father Chen also understood Qin Wendian's attitude. He nodded his head. This time, he really put his heart and soul into arranging the wedding of Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. He was always by Qin Wendian's side and didn't dare to be casual with Lin Shuai anymore. He didn't even know who his father-in-law was anymore. Qin Wendian and Fang Mu were chatting idly. There were no maids around them, only a few elders of the Qin clan were accompanying them. At this moment, one of the elders raised his cup to Qin Wendian and drank a mouthful of wine. How would he dare to ask Qin Wendian to drink with him? Young Master Qin, what do you think of the Qin clan's clan lord? As soon as Qin Wendian said this, Father Chen, who had been paying attention to them, felt his heart tighten and his face turn slightly pale. The meaning behind Qin Wendian's words was extremely terrifying. As long as Qin Wendian said a word of dissatisfaction, his position as the clan lord would most likely come to an end. Although the Qin clan couldn't be compared to the immortal Qinbian Gate, it was still a distinguished clan. The ones who truly decided the position of the clan lord were the most powerful elders. Why are you asking me about the Qin clan? Qin Wendian frowned and said, as long as my senior brother and sister-in-law are happy, I naturally won't have any opinions. As soon as Qin Wendian said this, Father Chen immediately heaved a sigh of relief. As expected, Qin Wendian was doing this for Little Yi's sake. His position as the clan lord would depend on Lin Shuai and Little Yi's attitude in the future. Fortunately, Little Yi was his daughter. No matter what, she would still be on his side. However, when he spoke to Lin Shuai, he became more and more polite. Naturally, there wouldn't be any twists and turns in this wedding. Everyone revolved around Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. Qin Wendian and the others couldn't get close to them, and the other party wouldn't come in contact with them either. They could only build a good relationship with Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. Therefore, they all showed the highest enthusiasm. Qin Wendian and the others naturally understood the reason for all this. Given their senior brother's personality, he definitely wouldn't care about such hypocritical enthusiasm. Most probably, after this wedding, he would bring Chen Yi away from the Qin clan. As an immortal king expert, Fang Mu was an extremely intelligent character. Although he was polite and enthusiastic, he didn't show any signs of flattery, nor did he make any requests. He merely wanted to build a better relationship with Qin Wendian. Fang Mu most probably also understood that it was enough for him to make Qin Wendian have a good impression of him and the Fang clan during their first meeting. If he made any requests, most probably, Qin Wendian would ignore him. Lin Shuai and Chen Yi also came to Qin Wendian's side and sat down. Fang Mu smiled at Lin Shuai, nephew Lin Shuai, this time around, I didn't prepare any gifts. Let me gift you a strand of protective immortal sense. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. A strand of immortal sense from an immortal king was extremely precious. This Fang Mu knew that it was useless to him, hence, he gifted it to Lin Shuai to do Lin Shuai a favor. This Fang Mu was truly intelligent. Lin Shuai naturally understood Fang Mu's thoughts. He resolutely shook his head, Senior Fang is too polite. How would Junior dare to accept a strand of immortal sense from Senior? Fang Mu naturally wouldn't ask for anything in return for gifting him a strand of immortal sense. But this favor would be placed on Qin Wendian. Lin Shuai naturally couldn't accept it. Fang Mu smiled and didn't reply. However, Qin Wendian spoke, since Senior Fang is so kind, Senior brother, there's no need to stand on ceremony. If his senior brother wanted to go out for a walk, with the protection of an immortal king's strand of immortal sense, it was equivalent to having an extra life. But to him, this was merely a small favor. Fang Mu wouldn't ask him to do anything. At most, he would befriend Qin Wendian. Chen Yi glanced at Lin Shuai and Qin Wendian. From an emotional point of view, she naturally hoped that Lin Shuai would accept it. After all, the strand of immortal sense from an immortal king was something that no one in her Qin clan had such an opportunity. All right then. Lin Shuai smiled. There was no need for him to judge his junior brother Qin based on his own attitude. Given the status of Fang Mu and Qin Wentian, they naturally understood that the strand of immortal sense couldn't represent too much. Hence, under the envious gazes of many, Fang Mu left a strand of immortal sense on Lin Shuai. This wedding would eventually come to an end. Qin Wentian and the people of the Battle Sword sect bid their farewells. Lin Shuai and the experts of the Chen clan also sent them off. Senior brother Lin, sister-in-law, take care. Qin Wentian and the experts of the Battle Sword sect clasped their hands and spoke. Under the gazes of everyone, they soared up into the air. Staring at Qin Wentian's pet transforming into a great rock, the people of the Chen clan were no longer surprised. Lin Shuai and Chen Yi both felt a sense of melancholy. In life, no matter what kind of brothers or good friends they still had to live their own lives. Separation was unavoidable. After this separation, it was unknown when they would meet again. In reality, things were just like what Qin Wentian had guessed. After staying in the Chen clan for several days, Lin Shuai and Chen Yi left to roam the world. Although the people of the Chen clan wanted them to stay, if Lin Shuai wanted to leave, who would dare to stop them? After Qin Wentian returned to the immortal Qianbian Gate, he busied himself with transforming the bodies of his loved ones. He didn't hesitate to go to auctions, using treasures to exchange for some medicinal pills for his loved ones to refine their bodies, as well as using cultivation arts to temper their bodies, all in preparation for breaking through to immortal foundation. Time flowed by. Qin Wentian enjoyed this period of peace and quiet. Today, several immortal kings appeared in the Cloud Prefecture city. The immortal Qianbian Gate instantly learned of this and kept a close eye on them. They discovered that these experts were actually heading straight for the immortal Qianbian Gate. Outside the majestic ancient castle of the immortal Qianbian Gate, a group of experts stood there calmly. From the immortal Qianbian Gate, more and more experts appeared, staring at these newcomers. These experts all exuded a sharp aura, like unsheathed swords, not bothering to mask their sharpness. Everyone, why did you all come to the Cloud Prefecture city? An immortal king from the immortal Qianbian Gate asked. We are students from the Supreme Sword School and are here to pay a visit to the Emperor Qianbian. These people calmly replied. The hearts of the immortal kings trembled. Seems like the commotion caused by the Sacred Academy back then had finally caused the other party to make a move. Immortal kings directly appeared in the Cloud Prefecture city and came to the immortal Qianbian Gate. The Emperor Monarch is busy with his cultivation, I'm afraid he won't have the time. The immortal Qianbian Gate replied. Don't worry, we are willing to wait in the immortal Qianbian Gate. When the Emperor Monarch is free to meet us, we will pay a visit again. The people from the Supreme Sword School laughed, as though they were long prepared. Chapter 1222. These people from the Supreme Sword School came in the name of visiting. What could the immortal Qianbian Gate do about it? They could either let these immortal kings stay outside or invite them into the immortal gate as guests. The former would make the immortal Qianbian Gate seem to lack the bearing of an emperor-level force. In that case, please follow me into the immortal gate to rest. However, the rules of the immortal Qianbian Gate still need to be followed, the powerhouse of the immortal Qianbian Gate said. Of course. The people from the Supreme Sword School nodded. Both sides appeared to be extremely polite, without the slightest bit of anger, as if they were old friends. There was no hostility at all. The people from the immortal Qianbian Gate arranged for the immortal kings of the Supreme Sword School to stay in the immortal gate. There were also maids to serve them. However, when the people from the Supreme Sword School wanted to see the Emperor of Qianbian, they never saw him. As an immortal emperor and the master of the immortal Qianbian Gate, it was natural for the Emperor of Qianbian to find a reason to refuse the visit of the immortal kings. Who could say anything? As for why they came, both sides were well aware. Of course, they came for Qin Wentian. The Emperor of Qianbian was too lazy to explain anything to the other party and directly refused to see them. And Qin Wendian left the immortal Qianbian Gate. Evergreen Kingdom, Imperial Palace, Princess Changping Residence. When Princess Changping saw Qin Wendian and the others, a gentle smile appeared in her beautiful eyes. Little guy, you have made great progress since the opening of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Princess Changping smiled. Princess, you are flattering me. I came to disturb you again today, please forgive me, Princess. Qin Wendian bowed and said. It doesn't matter. Perhaps this imperial palace will be half your home in the future. You can come whenever you want. It's just that you arrived before Qin came back from her sect. Princess Changping invited Qin Wendian into the residence as she spoke. 50 years ago, the Evergreen Kingdom Palace was surrounded by enemies from all sides. It was only because of the opening of the Tiandao Sacred Academy that there was peace for 50 years. Right now, the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire is no longer peaceful. You have arrived at the eye of the storm. I'm already involved. It's impossible for me to get out, Qin Wendian said, shaking his head. I'm very curious about what exactly has happened in the Sacred Academy. Perhaps you don't know, but a few days ago, my elder brother said that our Evergreen Kingdom might be facing an extremely dangerous situation. In fact, the danger might even surpass the civil war back then. Princess Changping stared at the floating clouds in the air. She could faintly sense the storm that was brewing beneath the calm skies. The various major powers of the immortal realms were keeping a close watch on their capital cities. Princess Changping knew that right now, there were many immortal kings in the royal capital. Also, all of them came from different powers. Some things are destined to happen, it's unavoidable. Qin Wendian thought back to the 50 years he spent in the Sacred Academy. It felt like a dream. These 50 years, regardless of whether it was for him or Qin, were extremely important. They had experienced a baptism. What needs to be faced has to be faced eventually. No matter who wants to touch my Evergreen Kingdom, they have to be prepared to pay the price. Let's see who dares to disregard the price and act against my Evergreen Kingdom. Princess Changping's eyes suddenly turned sharp. Although she was a female, the might of an immortal king could be felt from her. Wendian, during these few days, just rest in my residence. Qin Wendian nodded his head lightly. In the eastern regions of the immortal realms, there was an extremely ancient mountain range. The scenery here was extremely beautiful, with immortal mountains all around. The immortal qi here was extremely dense, and at the peak of each mountain, there were all immortal residences. On an ancient peak in the center, the scenery was extremely beautiful. A group of maidens stood on a stone platform at the edge of the peak, staring at the scenery in the distance. The experts from the various major powers have arrived in the Evergreen Kingdom. Qin Wendian has also received the news and has already arrived at Princess Changping's residence. A maiden walked over and spoke to Qin. Thank you, senior sister. Qin replied in a light voice. You can head there first. If anything happens, we will immediately teleport to the royal palace through the teleportation array. Qin nodded. In an ancient palace of the Namhuang clan, Nanfeng Guhong sat there as someone came to make a report. The teleportation array leading to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate is already in place. Right now, there are several immortal kings from the Supreme Sword School monitoring the situation at the immortal Qianbian Gate. Qin Wendian has gone to the Evergreen Kingdom, and the various major powers will also choose to descend to the Evergreen Kingdom. That person below reported. So it turned out that before this, there were experts from the Namhuang clan who contacted the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Both sides came to a temporary agreement, allowing the Namhuang clan to directly construct a spatial tunnel leading to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Such a spatial tunnel was impossible to be constructed by non-allied powers. One must know that the moment it was constructed, the army of the Namhuang clan could instantly descend to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. If they had evil intentions, how terrifying would that be? But at this critical moment, the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate actually agreed without any hesitation. Got it. Nanfeng Guhong nodded lightly. Her beautiful eyes flashed with an amused smile as she spoke in a low voice. Because of a few little fellows, all the major powers of the immortal realms were mobilized. This matter can be considered unprecedented. Leaving aside these peak powers that were constantly paying attention to the situation in the Evergreen Kingdom, even the people in the Evergreen Kingdom could feel the unusual atmosphere in the royal capital. During these days, extremely terrifying characters would often appear in groups. They would appear in groups and there would be many immortal kings gathered together. In a place like the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, it wasn't strange to see immortal kings. But it was extremely rare for a group of immortal kings to move out. Even in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, there weren't many such powers. And now, there was news circulating around the Evergreen Kingdom that there were at least 4 to 5 such situations. In addition, they didn't seem to be concealing their tracks. Because, everyone understood that the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was the core of the Evergreen Kingdom. It was the territory of the Evergreen Kingdom. When a large number of experts entered the royal capital, their movements would already be known. There was basically no way to hide it. At this moment, it was unknown how many people in the dark were watching their every move. This undercurrent was surging in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Qing had also returned from the mountain gate and gathered with Qin Wentian. On this day, the vast and boundless royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was bathed in the warm sunlight. The bright weather put everyone in a good mood. Not far away from the royal palace, in the air, a group of experts suddenly flew over. They were currently flying towards the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. At this moment, countless people raised their heads and looked at the mighty figures. Was the surging undercurrent finally going to erupt? These experts advanced in the void. In another direction, there was also a mighty group of experts who began to rush towards the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Not only in one place, but in other places. Those forces that were quietly waiting in the royal capital, at this moment, seemed to have received a military order as they marched in the direction of the royal capital in an orderly manner. Finally, the first batch of experts arrived. A voice rang out within the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is here to welcome the 2 princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom back to my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom for their wedding. The voice rumbled and spread to every corner of the city. It even continued to spread towards the Imperial City. Back then, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom made use of the agreement they signed with the defeated powers to request the 2 princesses, Qing, and Azure, to marry into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The Evergreen Kingdom didn't agree and a battle even broke out in the royal capital. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom initiated an immortal adjudication. The various peak powers of the eastern regions, Ziti, the Supreme Sword School, the Celestial Palace and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty all agreed to the adjudication, confirming that the agreement back then was valid. However, how could the Evergreen Kingdom agree? At that time, the Chongqing the Great summoned the Tiandao Sacred Academy, causing the entire immortal realms to tremble. The adjudication was temporarily set aside and now, it was said that the Immortal Foundation characters who entered the Sacred Academy have already walked out from the Sacred Academy. Also, a soul-stirring battle occurred within the Sacred Academy. These geniuses who walked out from the Sacred Academy, after countless years, how many of them would still be alive? How many of them would be able to reach the peak? Most probably, the number of them could be counted on one's fingers. The immortal realms were extremely cruel. If one wanted to climb to the peak, they either had to stand on a mountain of corpses and become a legend, or become a corpse under the feet of others. This was the fate of geniuses. Within the Evergreen Kingdom, numerous experts soared in the air, staring at the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom who were outside the royal palace. This isn't the era of ancient emperors. Why would there be an adjudication? Everyone, it's better for you all to return to Sky Mist. A voice rang out. How could the Evergreen Kingdom possibly hand over the person? The opening of the Sacred Academy indicates that the era of ancient emperors has arrived. Everything indicates that the adjudication is valid. As one of the adjudicators, our Supreme Sword School requests the Evergreen Kingdom to hand over the person. Another voice rang out. We hope that the Changqing the Great will hand over the person. The Evergreen Kingdom, please abide by the adjudication. From all directions, voices rang out one after another. Each voice represented a major power, causing the entire royal palace to tremble. At this instant, everyone understood that this time around, the major powers were going to act for Real. In the teleportation array region of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, beams of terrifying spatial light flashed as a group of experts appeared, stepping out. These experts were actually all females, exuding magnificence that could transcend the generations. GD's followers had arrived. In the Princess Changping residence, Qin Wentian and Qing Er stood together. Although Qin Wentian's expression was calm, his heart was ice-cold. The major powers seemed to have chosen to act against the Evergreen Kingdom. They knew that if Qing Er was here, Qin Wentian would be here as well. Senior apprentice sisters have arrived. Qing Er spoke when she saw the intense light. MHM, Qin Wentian nodded. A gust of wind blew as a group of extremely powerful disciples from GD's faction descended. They stared into the distance as one of the female disciples spoke. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wants my junior apprentice sister to marry someone of a lower status. Have you ever asked my master if he agreed to this? This matter is an agreement between my Skymist Immortal Empire and the Evergreen Immortal Empire. People of Matriarch G's sect, it's best if you don't interfere. A domineering voice rang out, filled with a sense of urgency. Today, in the Evergreen Kingdom, the sky was clear and the wind blew. Chapter 12:23. The sky was clear, enveloping the Evergreen Imperial City. However, everyone in the city could feel the approaching hurricane. In the royal palace, many people fell silent when they heard the domineering reply. However, right at this moment, a dazzling light flashed as a figure stepped out. This figure exuded boundless magnificence. He was clad in azure robes, an emperor of the mortal world. Changqing the Great. Many experts stared at the figure who appeared, only to see the Changqing the Great walking in the air as he spoke. Immortal adjudication? Forgive me, Evergreen, for my ignorance. May I ask everyone, which ancient emperor gave the order to initiate the adjudication? As the sound of his voice rang out, no one replied. After all, even ordinary immortal emperors didn't have the qualifications to converse with the Changqing the Great. The era of ancient emperors has already become a thing of the past. The adjudication is jointly initiated by all the major powers in the immortal realms. Evergreen, you broke the contract and violated the rules of the immortal realms. In the air, an incomparably terrifying figure appeared. This person seemed to have come from beyond the heavens. He was sitting on an incomparably fearsome elephant that resembled a divine elephant. Skymist Immortal Emperor. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor inclined his head and stared at the person who came. He smiled, to think that the matters of a junior would actually attract the Skymist Immortal Emperor to my Evergreen Immortal Empire. I wonder if I should feel honored. The adjudication is a major event in the immortal realms. Evergreen, since you didn't abide by it, we naturally have to make a trip here personally. Evergreen, you better not make a mistake. The Skymist Immortal Emperor calmly spoke. His appearance caused everyone to understand that the severity of this matter was far greater than what they had imagined. Nobody knew what these supreme characters were thinking in their hearts. Maybe, they really wanted to use this chance to consign the Evergreen Immortal Empire to eternal damnation. If the Evergreen Kingdom was destroyed, the vast territories and resources would all be plundered by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the other neighboring countries. Their cultivation resources, as well as their powerful innate techniques and cultivation arts, would all be seized. The countless geniuses born in the Evergreen Kingdom would also be absorbed by them. When these powers truly had the confidence to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, no one would doubt their ruthlessness and wouldn't hesitate to act. This was the cruelty of the immortal realms. This opportunity undoubtedly gave the various forces several opportunities to join forces and deal with the Evergreen Kingdom. How many people have come? There's no need to hide, just come out. The Chongqing the Great raised his head and stared at the boundless sky. As the sound of his voice faded, numerous supreme figures appeared. Each of them was releasing an extremely terrifying aura, tyrannical to the extreme. Supreme Sword Emperor. The Chongqing the Great looked at one of them. Beneath his feet were immortal swords. Wherever he was, that was the world of swords. Master of the Celestial Palace. The Chongqing the Great then looked at another person. This person was wearing a black robe, and his entire body was pitch black. However, his face was extremely young, and he looked to be in his 20s or 30s. He was extremely devilish. Immortal Emperor Taihua. He then glanced at another person. This person was clad in ancient emperor robes and exuded boundless might, unexcelled in the world, causing people in the world to not dare to look up to him. The appearance of these experts caused the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to feel suffocated. Although they had already greatly overestimated this matter, they didn't expect that Qing's wedding would cause such a violent storm. Brother Violet and Brother Dongxing are here as well. The Evergreen Kingdom stared at the other two figures. They were none other than Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Wise Brother Evergreen, this time around, you didn't abide by the ruling of the immortal realms. You shouldn't have done so. If you are willing to hand the person over, everything will naturally calm down. Zidi spoke. Dongxing Heaven Emperor nodded his head lightly, but when he glanced at Qin Wentian in the crowd, his eyes flickered with coldness. An immortal emperor would have such a deep obsession with immortal foundation characters. This could be considered a strange matter. He initially didn't wish to be embroiled in this storm. After all, his relationship with the Evergreen Kingdom wasn't bad on the surface. However, the immortal Qianbian Gate would also be embroiled in this. With the entire eastern regions in chaos, it would be extremely difficult for his Dongshengshan Gate to remain unscathed. Hence, he could only choose a side. Without a doubt, he chose the side of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom. In the face of life and death, friendship wasn't even worth mentioning. What do the two of you mean? Chongqing the Great glanced in two other directions. Two more immortal emperors had arrived. One of them exuded a towering demonic qi, while the other exuded a supreme human emperor. Just here to watch the show. That supreme human emperor laughed. As for what he said, who would believe him? These two were none other than the powerful existences of the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the White Tiger people. Their participation was also the catalyst for today's events. A grudge between juniors in the Sacred Academy. 2 immortal emperors actually want to settle it with juniors in the outside world? What a joke. Chongqing the Great stared at the 2 immortal emperors as he spoke. How could he not know where they came from? Evergreen, just hand the 2 of them over. Why must you gamble the entire Evergreen Kingdom on 2 juniors? The Violet Emperor seemed to be persuading them with kind words. The 2 people he was talking about, everyone naturally knew who they were. The daughter of Chongqing the Great, Qing, as well as Qin Wentian of the immortal Qianbian Gate. The 2 of them were currently standing together, inclining their heads as they stared at the immortal emperors of the various powers. The reason you want me to hand over my daughter is because of the contract. In that case, what's the reason for you to hand over Qin Wentian? Is it because many of your juniors were killed in the Sacred Academy? Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. Do you still not understand? Given the current situation, why is there a need for a reason? Zidi's voice rang out as a surge of coldness engulfed the entire space. That's right, given the current situation, why would there be a need for a reason? Strength was the reason. A powerful light radiated from the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. Terrifying spatial fluctuations shot up into the clouds. The gazes of everyone turned over only to see several powerful figures walking over. We pay our respects to Master. Jidi's followers all bowed to a female. This female's robes weren't extravagant, yet she exuded a sense of nobility. Her robes seemed to be formed from spatial energy and her entire body exuded a terrifying light. Her gaze was extremely imposing, and when her gaze swept past the experts in the air, it was like a sharp blade slicing through the void. I truly want to see who wants to bring my disciple away today. This female was none other than G.D. Master. Ching's silhouette flashed as she appeared before G.D. and bowed. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. Her matter actually caused her master to personally come here. Even the beasts of the White Tiger people dare to come here. It serves you right that those beasts of the White Tiger people were roasted alive. I didn't settle the debt with you guys, but you actually dared to come here to seek revenge from a junior? G.D. turned her gaze to the White Tiger Immortal Emperor before turning to the Immortal Emperors of the Nine Emperors Immortal State. The Nine Emperors Immortal State is a peak power of the central regions and has existed for countless years. Isn't it shameful for you to come here to interrogate a junior? G.D.'s words weren't polite at all. The moment she appeared, she directly questioned the two Immortal Emperors. The baleful aura from the White Tiger Immortal Emperor soared upwards, terrifying to the extreme. This woman actually dared to humiliate him, the White Tiger people. Emperor Lord. Qin Wentian bowed to another group of experts. This person was none other than the Emperor Lord of Qianbian. Does G.D. and the Immortal Qianbian Gate want to be implicated as well? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor questioned. You aren't qualified to speak to me. G.D. glanced at the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor impolitely, her words causing the expression of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor to change. In truth, he, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, could only be considered a junior in front of G.D. Also, in terms of cultivation base, there was still a great disparity between him and G.D. G.D. was the same as Zidi, a peak stage Immortal Emperor. In addition, G.D. was even more ancient compared to Zidi. She had nurtured countless powerful disciples, and there were even a few Immortal Emperor-ranked disciples among them. She was truly terrifying. Although she didn't have any thoughts of ruling the endless territories, there was no need to doubt G.D.'s influence in the eastern regions. G.D., the outcome of the adjudication isn't something you can change with your strength alone. Zidi stood there arrogantly, staring at G.D. as he spoke. Don't forget that this place belongs to me, the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. The Chongqing the Great spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the entire royal palace flashed with an incomparably resplendent light. This terrifying light seemed as though it wanted to pierce through the sky. In the direction of the Emperor Palace, an ancient evergreen tree soared up into the sky, radiating green light in all directions as branches and leaves spread out unceasingly. Rustling sounds rang out unceasingly. In just a short instant, this terrifying ancient tree had already enveloped the entire royal palace and was even moving towards the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. A distance of tens of millions of miles was instantly covered by the branches. The experts from the Evergreen Kingdom Palace trembled as they stared at this scene. It was too shocking. They saw the ancient tree towering up into the sky, shooting up into the clouds. Countless branches and leaves continued to extend into the distance, wanting to envelop the entire royal capital. A miraculous scene appeared in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. The divine elephant that the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor was sitting on let out trumpeting sounds, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Boundless energy cascaded downwards, akin to meteors falling from the sky, slamming into the light screen of the ancient tree. After that, the energy was directly absorbed and destroyed. Boundless starlight shone in the sky. At this moment, boundless starlight sprinkled down and intertwined with the ancient tree. The Evergreen Tree. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor had a heavy expression on his face when he saw this. Why was the Evergreen Kingdom a peak power? They naturally had the foundations of a peak power. Indeed, fighting in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was extremely disadvantageous to them. Similarly, if the battlefield was in their Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, it would be the same as well. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at this shocking scene. It was unknown how much bigger a leaf was compared to him. This tree was like an ancient tree that reached the heavens, protecting the royal palace and the royal capital. The Namhuang clan has the phoenix ancestor in their ancestral land, and the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom has the evergreen tree. It seems like every ancient peak power has an unshakable foundation and capital. Qin Wentian silently mused. Chapter 12:24. The Chongqing the Great stood beside the trunk of the ancient tree. The terrifying light shone on him, as though he would fuse with it at any moment. This eternal evergreen tree was a supreme treasure of the evergreen immortal empire. Only the evergreen immortal emperor would be able to control the eternal evergreen tree and even fuse with it, unleashing terrifying power. Although the Chongqing the Great was still a step away from the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, if he fused with the evergreen tree, the combat prowess he could unleash might even be more terrifying compared to ordinary peak stage immortal emperors. He was a spiritual body, and also an emperor-ranked weapon. The guardian tree of the evergreen kingdom, evergreen, never withering. Why did the civil war break out back then? Why did the position of the Chongqing the Great cause brothers to fight against each other? Whoever ascended to this position would be able to control the evergreen tree and become the strongest expert in the evergreen kingdom, or even one of the strongest existences in the eastern regions. Who wouldn't covet such a position? Who wants to fight? The Chongqing the Great spoke. In the royal capital of the evergreen kingdom, he was the master. Evergreen, stop being so stubborn. I want you to abide by the contract and actually unleash the power of the evergreen tree for battle. Do you think we didn't come here prepared? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor continued. Although the eternal evergreen tree gave him a fearsome pressure, how could they not have made sufficient preparations before coming here as a group? This was a wasted trip. Paragon Sword Emperor, your sword is said to be invincible. Why don't you test out the defense of the eternal evergreen tree and see if it's really as the legends say, evergreen and undying? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor stared at the Paragon Sword Emperor as he spoke. The Paragon Sword Emperor nodded lightly. His eyes were like swords, and with a single glance, boundless sword intent descended from the heavens. He stepped out and waved his hand. In an instant, a paragon sword that absorbed the essence of the sun, moon, and stars appeared. As the sword appeared, its light seemed to transcend the past and present. All the experts in the boundless region below instantly closed their eyes. This sword was named Paragon Sword. Paragon Sword, ordinary people could only look up to it. This was the sword of a king. Boundless astral light cascaded down from the sky, landing on the Paragon Sword Emperor and the Paragon Sword. The Paragon Sword Emperor and the Paragon Sword shone together, borrowing the power of the heavens to shine with the astral light. The eternal evergreen tree continued to expand, enveloping the entire imperial palace beneath it. In a battle between emperors, if both sides didn't control their attacks, they might be able to destroy the heavens and earth. A single battle could raise an entire city to flat ground. This place was the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. As the ruler of the empire, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor naturally had to protect the people here. Qin Wentian, Qing and the others in the royal palace were like the countless experts in the royal capital. All of them were protected under the radiance of the eternal evergreen tree. For those who stood above the tree, only immortal emperors had the qualifications to participate in this battle. Cultivating, the higher one's cultivation base is, the more they would be able to borrow boundless might to unleash destructive might. Qin Wentian stared at the sky. On his journey here, there was no doubt that this point was proven. At the start, when one's cultivation base increased, the change in destructive might wouldn't be too great. But when one became a peak-level expert, the increase in their cultivation base would be extremely terrifying. Back then, the Chongqing the Great once reminded himself that the reason why he was still alive was because Zidi and Dongsheng Heaven Emperor couldn't let go of their pride. If not, he would already be dead. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian didn't doubt it at all. It was too easy for an immortal emperor to kill an immortal foundation expert. Naturally, if Eastern Sage wanted him dead, Emperor Qianbian could also cause the Dongshengshan Gate to suffer a calamity. This was the true reason why both sides were restricted. As for Zidi, Zi Daoyang was killed by Mo Xia while Zi Yunwu was killed by Di Tian. Nobody knew that it was him. Hence, the killing intent towards him wasn't strong enough. One day, if Eastern Sage and Zidi discovered the threat he posed, they would definitely kill him without hesitation. Upon thinking of this, Qin Wentian's thirst for power grew even more intense. Up in the air, the Paragon Sword Emperor formed hand seals as boundless starlight cascaded down on his body. Numerous sharp swords that resembled stars descended from the heavens. Each and every one of these sharp swords shone with a starlight that could pierce through the heavens. With a single glance, one could feel how terrifying these swords were. And at this instant, the entire sky was filled with these swords. They were like constellations as they slowly descended from the heavens. Kill! The Paragon Sword Emperor waved his hand. The Paragon Sword was like the Lord of all swords. The countless swords that could kill everything in the world suddenly sped up and descended from the sky like a meteor. In an instant, they smashed down. This scene was like a scene of destruction. The immortal emperors all had halos revolving around them. However, they didn't have any intense reactions. After all, the target of the Paragon Sword Emperor wasn't them. It was the eternal evergreen tree. Swish, the ancient tree moved, growing even faster than the swords. Countless branches extended outwards, instantly enveloping the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Incomparably complicated runes of light erupted forth from the countless branches. These countless branches actually radiated the power of innate techniques, akin to the law energy of the great Tao of heaven and earth. A scene of boundless destruction appeared in the air. The branches and the swords clashed against each other. Under the might of the Paragon Sword Emperor, even the heavens and earth seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The branches sliced through the air, exuding a destructive light that caused the entire space to shatter. Go! The Paragon Sword Emperor's expression didn't change. With a wave of his hand, the Paragon Sword appeared in the air, causing the heavens and earth to tremble unceasingly. In the starry sky, boundless light cascaded downwards. In an instant, a rain of swords appeared, even more rapid and sharper than a meteor shower. Under such a rain of swords, an entire city was instantly razed to the ground. Bzz, bzz, bzz. The sky seemed to be filled with a raging tempest. The speed of the swords was simply too fast, so fast that only after the swords sliced through the air did the sounds of swords echo out. The eternal evergreen tree shone with a resplendent light. Countless branches and leaves covered the sky as a river of stars manifested in the air. The boundless sword might rain down, all of them were absorbed into the river of stars. After that, the entire area started to be destroyed. Occasionally, there would be sharp swords that pierced through the river of swords, continuing their way towards the ancient tree. However, they were all destroyed by the branches. Stepping out, the Paragon Sword Emperor's silhouette appeared in the air above the river of stars. Countless ancient sword characters floated around him, imprinting themselves onto the Paragon Sword. The sword whistled, causing the heavens and earth to shatter. The Paragon Sword Emperor slashed down, aiming for the river of stars. A thunderous sound rang out, it was as though the sky had crumbled apart. The Paragon Sword Emperor continued to slash down, wanting to destroy the eternal evergreen tree. The body of the Changqing the Great seemed to have fused into the ancient tree. His body erupted with an incomparably resplendent light as the gigantic eternal evergreen tree radiated a refreshing green color. For a time, the entire sky and earth transformed into the color of life. This kind of green color covered the entire sky. Boom! The Paragon Sword pierced into the main trunk of the eternal evergreen tree, slicing through everything, wanting to shatter it. Millions upon millions of swords rained down, destroying everything under the might of this sword. The green light illuminated the entire city as the land of destruction instantly regenerated. A terrifying destructive force obstructed the advance of the Paragon Sword Emperor. The entire tree was filled with the light of destruction and rebirth. The gazes of the crowd stared at the center of the tree. The Paragon Sword Emperor had his eyes closed as a supreme sword might gushed forth from him. However, that tree was simply too powerful. It was basically an undying trunk that could be reborn from destruction. Boundless energy gushed forth, wanting to trap the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Eternal evergreen, never to wither. When everyone thought of this sentence, their hearts trembled. If they couldn't find the weakness of the eternal evergreen tree, even a supreme weapon like the Paragon Sword Emperor wouldn't be able to destroy it. This was an undying ancient tree, an evergreen tree. Countless vines grew and multiplied endlessly, locking the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Sword intent that could pierce through the heavens erupted forth, yet it was unable to destroy the eternal evergreen tree. The Paragon Sword Emperor furrowed his brows. After that, he pointed his finger forward as the Paragon Sword instantly returned to its original position. Swish, as soon as the Paragon Sword returned, numerous vines manifested. Boundless green light radiated forth, transforming into a heaven-piercing green branch that slashed through the air. At this instant, the countenance of the Paragon Sword Emperor drastically changed. A dazzling sword light radiated forth as the Paragon Sword Emperor directly vanished from his original location. However, when the jade green light slashed down, a supreme destructive might manifested. The entire sky seemed to be torn apart as a terrifying black fissure appeared. Bang! From afar, the sword light of the Paragon Sword Emperor clashed against the black fissure and was forced back by the impact. But very swiftly after, he stepped out and stood in the air, coldly staring down at the eternal evergreen tree. Evidently, he was the weaker party in this confrontation. He basically had no way to shake the eternal evergreen tree. A towering might suddenly gushed forth from the sky-mist immortal emperor. The divine elephant he was sitting on turned golden as numerous constellations in the sky seemed to be summoned. From the body of the divine elephant, a terrifying aura gushed forth. Beneath the feet of the Taihua immortal emperor, an emperor painting appeared behind him. This painting was also a supremely terrifying emperor-ranked weapon. Within this painting, there were countless war chariots as well as thousands of soldiers and horses, exuding a terrifying aura that could destroy everything. From the emperor-ranked weapon, the sound of tsunamis could be heard. These war chariots and soldiers seemed to be alive. An emperor-ranked battle? Qin Wentian stared at the immortal emperors in the air. Such a situation was also something he didn't expect. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, another bright light flashed. Nanfeng Guhong and the other experts from the Namhuang clan arrived. 3 immortal emperors directly passed through the light screen of the eternal evergreen tree. The Chongqing the Great naturally wouldn't allow the light screen to obstruct them. The Namhuang clan also wants to participate in the adjudication battle. The Sky-Mist Immortal Emperor furrowed his brows. In the Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian, the Namhuang clan and the daughter of the Chongqing the Great are allies. If the White Tiger people and the 9 Emperors Immortal State want to settle the grudges in the Sacred Academy, please leave now. Nanfeng Guhong spoke with cold arrogance. What arrogant words! The baleful aura of the White Tiger Demon Emperor was terrifying. My Namhuang clan has already opened a spatial passageway to the royal palace. Even if